Hey, welcome back to which one is this? Says it right up there. The Dynasty Grind. Yes. Mid to late rookie season, starting to think about startups, or at least I'm starting to think about startups because I have about 7 different rounds of content I have to start making for startups and also for the NFL season, which I guess is getting closer and closer. And we're here to answer any and all questions you might have from a dynasty perspective. Drop them in the comments. Be happy to talk. Russ Fisher, Dynasty Outhouse, is going to be late at least this week because he's gone and done a podcast he prefers over us, frankly. He's going to go to the Dynasty game night, and so he's not here this week, which works out fairly well for us because we have a surprise guest. Sorry, I'm trying to turn the phone off on my sound, and I don't know how to do that for this week. And so he's at least going to be covering for us for the early part of the show. So find out who that is, I guess. Welcome back. Buttons a little too far over. Here we go. Surprise guest, Akash. Welcome in. YZR. I have to read it. I never remember your name. YZR
name. I don't remember when I made it, but it was once supposed to mean something. Now it's just me. I think it's like yes sir, but like YZR.
Yes, okay. I keep thinking about making a club of all the fantasy people who don't have FF in their name, to be honest. And I guess you'd make it. You've only got the word fantasy in there, so that works. Where are you from, Akash? Podcast content? Where can people find it?
Podcast content. I'm on.
Or any kind of content. Where can they find it? Because they're going to love you on this show and they'll be like, I want more of that in my life.
So I'm on the Bulletproof Fantasy Football YouTube channel, which is Drew Rosenchuck's channel. And I have a podcast with Dynasty_IM, Ian, if you know him from Twitter. And we talk every week. Sometimes we don't because we're lazy. But we just try to talk about what's happening in the fantasy football landscape or our processes, because we have similar processes, so we mesh well. And then I'm also on the Dynasty Trade Calculator flagship podcast with Russ Fisher and Izzy. And
I've heard of that guy.
Yeah, it's fun because we always argue. And so I got one podcast where I'm always agreeing with my co-host and one where I'm always arguing with my co-host. It's a good mixture.
So you're mostly Dynasty focused, you'd say?
Yeah. Awesome. I got into Dynasty a couple years ago. I haven't been playing as long as you guys, but I've
just called us old. Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, he called me old. I felt that. How you doing, Zach?
Oh, I'm great.
Where can we find your content? I forget.
Everywhere, all the time.
Constant content.
I'm right here. I'm on the couch. I wake up. I do this show with you. We're good.
That's basically it. Yeah, we're actually in the same place. That's just the next room. There's a couch in there. It's great.
I love the color.
Yeah, you gotta go with different color scheme for different rooms. Good evening, gentlemen. Currently starting a rebuild. Sent Tyreek Hill, I'm guessing, and that can't be Taysom, right? Taysom's dead.
It's got to be Tyreek, yeah.
For a 23 first and Bateman. I like it. This league is so tough to trade in. We were just complaining about that. Don't ask. Up to 323 first right now. I think, that's exactly the way you build. In fact, I would go to 2024. If you're pure building, something they mentioned on a podcast called the Dynasty Dummies, and I was like, shit, now I have to find a new topic for my podcast. 2020, if you're building, you're 2 years out. It's not really about projecting which is a good draft class. It's just that's where the community is. People have been buying 23 first for 2 years. So if you're trying to buy them now, you're almost too late. It depends on your league. Some people, that's a good deal for a 23 first. But in my leagues, if I'm trying to honestly build, I'm very happy to trade for 2024 picks. They're way too far away, but in a year they won't be. And so if I see them as a value asset, 24 picks are fine. But it sounds like, tough or not, you're getting a pretty good trade there. Hill for Bateman and a first. Anyone got any objections to that?
No, I like that. And it's going to get harder too. I mean, I know it's been like 23 first have been gold for the past year. It's going to get harder because now we're getting past the 22 rookie drafts. which means everybody is now looking at 2023, whether they've identified that as a class that they want to be in, or they're just looking at the next class. So it is going to get hard.
The part that really interests me is Bateman, because I've been consistently low on Bateman because everyone just pushes me low. I really like him. I think he's a great player, you know. But everyone pushed him up way too high. I felt a little bit in his rookie year, keep expecting him to be, frankly, Tyreek Hill next week. Now, Marcus Brown's definitely dead now. It'll be Bateman. And now Marcus Brown is gone. I thought they would do the same thing. And I haven't heard a lot of the Bateman trade. So is his value too high or too low, or you buy in, selling?
Yeah, it's gone up. I think that I liked him a lot as a prospect. And then after the rookie year, I end up liking him. I think I'm the same as you, where I like him not as much as the market, just because the market has pushed him a lot higher after the Marquise Brown trade.
Yeah, Marcus continues to be valued less than him. I don't get that.
Right, I don't get that either.
At first, yeah, especially if he's one of those players where your situation matters a lot. If you're building, there's no point trading for Bateman. Almost, I think his ceiling means that he can't really increase in value where he is right now. But if I'm competing, I don't hate it. But I can also get Marcus Brown for less. So why would I? But I still like the player. It's a little awkward. Hopefully people will start hating him for maybe a video come out of him doing a TikTok dance and everyone will hate him. It'd be great.
Yeah.
Trying to move McLaurin. Same league. It's not going as well. Yeah, McLaurin's going to be a hard sell. He's mostly a hold right now. But if you can... He's one of those players, you're going to try and get a first in value. And you might have to go 2024 and ask for something else in return, or you add something to McLaurin that you don't care about but looks like it has value. To try and get a better play, you might be able to move more easily. That's kind of my thought on it.
Yeah, I like that. You could almost do the, hey, give me a 24 first and a 23 second. And try to get the two, because people tend to value 2 years out as a second. They tend to go down around. So that 24 first is the equivalent value of a second. The 23 second is a second. So maybe you can get a first and a second from McLaurin when people are valuing them like 2 seconds.
I forgot our background music. I was wondering why it was all sounding so terrible.
I was going to sing
so much my voice. I need the background music. That's what it is. Good job, Joe. It looks like you got a pretty good handle on value, man. You don't give Terry McLaurin away, which is why you're having a hard time trading him, and I wouldn't. I'm guessing Bobby Koch. Wrong.
That's the special guest.
Wrong.
That was a great guess, though, Ridley Truther. Bobby Koch has been everywhere. I turned my microwave on today, and all of a sudden...
Not been everywhere. It has been near me. Has been near me with a 20-foot pole. I'm feeling vaguely offended.
Sorry
to
disappoint
me and Bobby
Truther.
Me and Bobby like to keep it that way, so I'm feeling vaguely offended. He's happy not to talk to me. It's good. It's good. We're in the right place. BJ Lee. It was a really good episode, though, by the way, with Bobby. I thought it was a really lit episode. Hey, Peter, always pumped to listen to the Dynasty talk. Well, thank you very much, man. Appreciate that. Todd Radmaker.
That's the show's way better than game. Todd, I got the game night. I got the game night shirt going tonight because I knew that's where Russ was going to be.
I happen to agree. This isn't just for fun. So this is about Dynasty, a real thing, not games that they play over there. Wait.
0 made up points for this.
0 made up points. Giddy up. Hey, fellas, how would you rank DJ Moore, Pittman, and a 23? Ooh, first. Feel free to rearrange from mid to late. Yeah, I would take any 23 first for Pittman. I still value DJ Moore more than a first. His value's good, although we've perpetually held. He doesn't have top 12 upside. I'm not going to believe he's suddenly going to develop a TD rate, but he's still young. He's definitely going to produce top 24 numbers. As far as the way he makes them, if he got a quarterback, and I hate to be that guy, like the way he makes yards, he's almost unparalleled in being able to make 0.3 yards. So the player is definitely good, but the situation is not going to improve before he's too old for dynasty players. So I think his value is good to trade. But I want to roster him for now, so I'd still place him above the first. Any first. Yeah, any first.
I agree.
To me, it depends on your team roster construction, and again, that's I will get a little granular. I don't want to be the show that just answers yes or no. I don't want to do that. I like to get into the theory a little bit, but to me, it's if your team is competing, if you want the value of points, then yeah, it's DJ Moore, and then Michael Pittman and a 23 first are probably pretty close there. I take the 23 first because I've seen what's coming, and that next class has got some serious clout. If I'm not competitive this year, I take the first over DJ Moore too, because I don't think you're going to get a 23 first for DJ Moore in a year, 3 months. No. Yeah. So
I would say if I was more comfortable with projecting what first will want, like a top 3 first for DJ Moore is, yeah, that's good. But I just never going to believe I know what pick is the top 3.
There are 4 receivers and probably 3 running backs right now that I would take over DJ Moore in the next class. So there's 7 picks.
Yeah.
And then quarterbacks. So.
Yeah, but you like Pittman. What do you know?
I mean, Pittman's all right.
All right. It's a fair point. Paul Cicero, I've been waiting all day for this. Really, Paul? Well, I really appreciate that. I'm grateful that you're here. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Joel A, switch Zach with the cash. I like Zach in the top right spot. You got it.
All right.
Gentlemen, happy Wednesday. What would you accept on the top 102 when shopping Tyreek Hill as far as picks are concerned? Thanks, fellas. Keep up the great work. Would rather get Bateman plus the 102. Yeah, plus the 23 first. What would you accept on top of the 102? So Tyreek Hill plus what?
I need some type of
102's seconds.
I need more than a second. Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't feel that far off, but it feels like I'd still want Tyreek. So I think the second pushes it over. I wouldn't ask for a late first. I don't think you get that.
I mean, Tyreek Hill's still top 10 in like startup ADP wide receivers.
Yeah,
but he's one of those ones that's old. I would say if we felt more, if we could dynasty outhouse this and say the 102 is worth more than the player, then I kind of think you're in the range there with a first and a. But it's not. We know it's Burks and London, maybe Walker, depending on how you're feeling. And I want another first. If I'm trading for one of those guys, it's a first, 23 first on top of that, please. And I think that's probably asking too much from most people, right? That's why he's more of a points player for me right now. I'm just keeping him, just taking those 2 points.
Yeah, it's that there's that funny kind of ships in the night moment where a player's value, like perceived value, future value, diminishes, but their point value stays. And Hill's at that point where like you're not getting 2 first for Tyreek Hill probably.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if one's a 102.
Right, but he's still a top 10 wide receiver. And
I would say in a startup, I'm not taking him at that value just because I would mitigate that risk for myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to roster Tyreek Hill anyway. But in trade, if I'm rostering him, it's too much. But that's my answer, Aaron. Honestly, like if it didn't have another first with it, I probably am uninterested. You could try and get that another way, especially if you're willing to trade into a player other people are less excited about. I don't think depends who they got, but if they've got Ayuk and they're for some reason low, if they've got Elijah Moore and they're worried about Garrett Wilson, like there are ways to try and get that value, but it really depends on who they're rostering and how they feel about them. But that's the type of player I'd be trying to add to it.
Yeah, Sutton would be somebody that
Sutton's a good one.
They have, because I think he's being valued low. So I'd go through, look at ADP, look at guys who I think are being valued low, but are going to score more than where they're being valued right now, and add one of those guys to the 102 for Hill. If you're shopping Hill.
Got a question on Twitter because apparently Cooper Adams is too good to come into the chat. What round in a startup do you view as a fair value for a random 23 first? So, what round in a startup would you draft a first round pick? I think it's round 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to go earlier than that, but because you're gonna take because you get the first pick, right? So, like if you're in a startup draft,
that's a good point.
You would be drafting like the 101 for next year. So that's going to be a quarterback, or Bijan Robinson, who's going to be the dynasty running back 1 in this time next year. He will be the running back 1.
But a random 23 first. Because Cooper's asking to...
Is he just drafting a random? How do you...
No, it's asking so that you can get a frame of reference for where to value a 23 first versus players. So, like, if you say...
drafting the 101, that's a little different.
He's going to say 23 first versus, like, if you say a 4th rounder, he's going to compare it to 4th round startup players and say, okay, I could trade them. I could trade 23 first for this player. So if you said like 4th round and DJ Moore's ADP is the 4th round, then Cooper would say, okay, if I want to go trade 23 first for DJ Moore, I probably could.
So Breece Hall is going right now as the 201, and I would take 23 first over Breece Hall.
There you go.
Oh, that's
a good way of looking at it.
So you're really high on them.
Again, like I can list you 4 receivers, 3 to 5 running backs, and 3 to 5 quarterbacks that I would take over anybody in this class. So right there,
there's a time discount and the uncertainty discount.
You don't have the uncertainty discount because you have a 23 pick that is going to increase in value. Yeah. So even if you don't make that pick, it's great.
Right. Yeah, there'll be some players that we now see, like probably first rounders in 23 that probably fall, and then some late rise.
But there'll be some that come up, like right. and even if you knock it down to like low end, so say it's 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, and 4 wide receivers, and then you knock out 20% of that, you still have 8 players out of 12 that I would take over anybody in this class, like sight unseen. So
yeah,
I think it's the 2nd round for me. That's where I'm looking.
Wow.
Yeah. Is there a single tight end?
Keep It Cut has a thing where you like pick picks versus players, and they have 23 first in there. And right now, mid 23 first is right next to Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, who go 37th and 31st. I just sorted for just wide receivers so I could remove some clutter, but those guys are 3rd, 4th rounders, so I think that's about market value.
Is there a single tight end in this class who draft over Pat Freiermuth? That's not the way they phrase the question, but that's ultimately it.
No, because Freiermuth is already established as a tight end. I mean, he's a top 10 tight end, which doesn't mean anything. Right. But you might as well take the top 10 tight end and be happy.
Box versus
I think Trey McBride and maybe a couple others could become it, but you've already... Yeah. Why would I spend to... How's the way
Box versus boat, just take the boat.
You have to rent that first year if you draft a rookie tight end. That's why McBride's interesting as a tight end 1 in this class going in the late 2nd. Like that kind of adjusts for that rental or that space rostering period. But give me Freiermuth was what I said. Good, because I answered for all of you, and it's a good job because I got it mostly right. Mostly. Where were we? Evening, guys. Would you share your thoughts on Albert Owen Dynasty? Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I don't think I've gotten to talk about enough lately. I have him in a start 2 tight end 1.5. Zach's already epitomized it. PPR league as my 2nd tight end with, I can see it just out the corner of my eye, with Pitts as my main. And torn on whether I should pivot after Denver. And honestly, if you've got Pitts as your 1, you can afford to get the value out of Albert and mitigate that risk, as it were, because there is risk. I think it's weird that they drafted Duluth with Albert on the depth chart. I liked him. Decent prospect with athleticism and size. More than production, but his production was fine. But like it wasn't good enough to make me think he's an incumbent. and we're drafting him like he's the incumbent. And they went and got significant competition, even if he doesn't have the athleticism. I actually don't know if he doesn't because he didn't test. But Duluth's got production over him, college production. Albert did fine last year. I think he's a good prospect to be one of those tight ends that, has use. But if I've already got Pitts, I don't want to wait and see if it turns to dust. So I would be interested in trading him. But I think it's not that I think Duluth's going to push Albert. I think it's weird they drafted Duluth. And Albert hasn't yet crossed the threshold of being what I would call an incumbent. Anyone else got better thoughts?
Yeah, Alberto's been seen as he shouldn't be seen as an incumbent because he hasn't shown anything outside of small samples. So he is very risky, and I would try to pivot off of him. Like you get I would feel more confident like a Noah Fant, the guy they traded away to put Alberto into the supposed starting job. I'd take Fant, and they're about equal in startup ADP. I think it's a pivot you could try out as well as a few other guys.
I mean, if I'm gonna pivot, I'm gonna pivot up though. I'm gonna take somebody. I'm gonna go try to get somebody like Schultz, who is one of those 100 target guys, who still is a little undervalued in a 2 tight end with a 1.5 premium. But as far as Okwebanam and like them drafting a tight end, they're not going to play with 1 tight end. Like, so having a rookie tight end with Okwebanam on that team, I don't think that affects Okwebanam. So whatever you thought about Okwebanam before, you should continue to think about him now, whether you were on him or not.
Having said that, my consensus ranks I just built put Albert as like tight end 15, so it might be the market might have adjusted. That's fine. Like that's
he has
good.
upside. It's just
but in Dynasty, you might find someone who's more willing to come in because he's a young tight end who could honestly do something.
Yeah. And there's upside. He's athletic. He's on a good offense. There's a lot of things to like at a position where we're chasing upside because there's not a lot of players who give us a lot of upside. So there's stuff to like, but it is very risky.
I think the difference is here. I've got Pitts. I'm good, so I can afford to just get out that risk. You can trade for Zach Ertz, who's actually been, similarly ranked for 2022, and something cool, or get your favorite flyer in a second or something, just because you don't need it. And there's more risk there than I like. By the way, Cooper Adams, who apparently prefers to talk to us directly on Twitter, because he's too good to come in the chat. Says, tell Zach he can have some of my 23 firsts at that value.
Yes.
Sweet.
I'd agree with him, sadly. I'm sorry, Zach. I'm sorry, but I'd take Brees over.
You don't have to be sorry. We don't have to agree.
You guys think it's better to wait to trade Eckler in season or right before the season starts? It's not the timing, it's the trade. What trade offers are you getting?
Nope.
I suspect I'm going to like Eckler more than the trades I'll get. People always will hold draft status over players like that, and I think he's still good. See what offers you get. If not, wait till he starts scoring points and then send more offers.
Yeah,
he's a running back, so you should always be willing. To be fair, I'm a contender. I trade Najee Harris for Dalvin Cook, 19, 21, and 23 foot.
What?
All of that?
It's a very old comment.
I think he's saying the 19th and the 21st overall pick and a first and a second. That's still a lot. Like, I love that trade. I like Najee Harris a lot because people ding him for his efficiency, but Dalvin Cook's 2022 projection should be
You're bridging
right there.
Your production is essentially no difference, and then you just bridge the gap in age with the 23 first.
Yeah.
That was
you just draft another running back there. You're set.
You're all right.
That was not a mistake. That's why everyone will say trade running backs after they do something because they think they can get that trade. And normally you can't.
Caleb did it. I'm proud of Caleb.
That's the type of like pitching backwards trade because everybody's trading for youth and everyone's overvaluing youth that you actually snuck in the back door and got youth with the 23 first, but you maintain with Dalvin.
Maintain the product.
That's Galaxy Brain. Caleb's on it.
Yep.
This is the kind of trade people suggest to make it sound like they know what they're talking about, and then when you try it, you can't get it done. And you just skipped all that, Caleb, and went and got it done. So that's freaking awesome. Good job. I like the idea of the 2024 first and second from McLaurin. Yeah, it gets discounted, and unfortunately, if you're building, unfortunately, depending on which way you see it, like you don't care. It's just a value thing.
And honestly, if you're building and you're bad, it's better for you.
It's like much better.
Like,
right.
Your 23 first gets better because you're bad, and by the time you're ready to have that 24 first, great. Like,
yeah.
Something I'm getting increasingly interested in, especially when you're looking for smaller and smaller edges, playing against people that are, more and more looking at exactly what you look at already. It's switching first and seconds in trades. It doesn't change the value of anything, but they might see it as a challenge. And also, if you're bad, you just assume yours is lower or higher. But then if you can turn those value assets into something where you're actually better before, so, that's kind of a weird way of saying it. But yes, saying you'll switch out first, like this year or next year, can honestly be a way of building, and your value increases because you expect yours to be lower. And people sometimes take it a challenge to their genitals, and men are bad at that. Like, I won't finish below you, and they feel like proving it. What's up, boys? I said that right. Look at me go. Thank you, Frank. You made me sound cool. I have the 101 this year. You have Breece Hall this year. Congratulations, sir. What's the furthest you trade back in this class to pick up a 23 first? Ooh,
I think we know Zach's answer.
Wherever you can get one.
Yeah. It's not the thing. I want Breece Hall. Like, that's the guy I want in this class, so I don't have to. But if you're assuming you're building, that's why you're trying to do this. Then it's wherever you can get an extra first, because then it's just about the value. However, I don't want to go below the 104 because I think you can get Burks there pretty consistently in a lot of drafts. And so I want to back end a tier 1 player and still get a first, but I don't know if you can get it for that.
Yeah.
I'd go all the way down if I had to.
I was going to say, I'm sitting there now looking at if you're trading back and obviously Breece Hall isn't going to do it for you this year. Like, if he is, like if you're competitive, and Breece Hall should be really good. Breece Hall should be a very good running back. PPR fantasy, but if that's not going to do it for you this year, trading back into like the 106, 107 and getting a 23 first, I'm happy with, because I'm going to get one of those top 5 receivers. If I don't do that, I don't mind trading back into like the 110, 111, 112 range, because there are guys back there that I want. Maybe you can get a little extra with that 23 first to move back that far, because now you're in the range where you can get Bell, you can get Pickens, you can get, if you're into Sky Moore, that could be a thing. Like, there are players back there that I don't mind. I don't want to be in the middle where I'm in the Kenny Pickett range. I don't want to be in
that's almost what I would say. If I can't get to the back end of the first tier, I will go down and hope I get Pickett. Pickett plus a 23 first. What I was going to say, though, something that occurred to me when I was recording the Crossroads today was, the thing about Breece Hall is I probably like him as well as I like Jonathan Taylor, but that almost doesn't matter when you consider value, because he doesn't have the hype, because it's such a 101, a jet.
I've seen hype.
If he has, that's true. I do live in a bubble, but I feel like if he had Jonathan Taylor's rookie year, he doesn't maintain value as well. Because Jonathan Taylor didn't struggle, but he got a lot of receptions eaten away from him.
Jonathan Taylor had a good end of year stretch that really propelled him up, and he was RB1 for some people, RB2 after CMC for some people, and I feel like if Breece Hall has a similar rookie season, he would be everyone's RB2, unless like Taylor gets badly hurt or something. He'd be RB1 because the dynasty landscape of running backs is just really bad right now.
Yeah, it won't be after next year's class is the thing. That's why I'm adding onto it with Zach here, talking about the new incoming class is gonna get the high, and I think if he disappoints, it doesn't have to do bad, But if he disappoints, he's not a top 12. Look at that stretch. Oh man, he won me my championship. And again, I do live in a bubble. You're not wrong, Akesh. Maybe there's hypes out there, but I feel like he won't sustain that value with a new more exciting class, and he's a Jet, and he didn't fall out.
That's the thing.
No, I mean?
like
that's what I'm worried about.
You laugh at Cash, but he said he's a Jet. That absolutely matters.
That will be the.
I'm laughing because it's true. That's how the public reacts.
Yeah.
And I don't think so. I would draft Breece Hall as a top 12 running back in a startup right now, or I would draft him as a 101. I like him as for prospect. I think he's just as strong as a running back one as we ever had.
I've seen him go higher.
But just with all that and the new class coming in, he might be a buy this time next year rather than sell. So it's not that I would dissuade you from, because I wouldn't. I will continue to draft Breece Hall 101, but that thought stuck out to me. It's like, if I have the 101, that's not a terrible idea, because that could happen. And if you get the value for it, you insulate yourself from it a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
I've seen some.
But again,
it's where you traded. I've seen people put him as high as the RB2 right after Jonathan Taylor. It's been a lot. During my rookie draft, I had the 101. I traded it for McCaffrey. Basically straight up, there was like a second and third swap where I got the third, and I gave up a mid-second. But getting McCaffrey for Breece Hall feels pretty good to me.
And there's still some value in it. Like Fantasy Pros has him as running back 22 right now. So the redraft community, I don't feel like fully accepted him, probably because he's a Jet. But anyway,
I think his ADP will end up higher than that in redraft.
Yeah, it's like Fournette, and probably in Dynasty a little bit too. But it's interesting to see right now.
Yeah.
I had a thought, so I need to say it on the internet. That's the way that works. I play 0 running backs in 10-team 2 QB. Is this enough to be a top 6 team? Kyler, Jalen Waddle, Higgins, Moore, Godwin, Keenan Allen, Deontay, Cole.
You're going to need a second quarterback.
I mean,
yeah,
you need a QB2, and then it's definitely good wide receivers. That's how 0 RB works. But without knowing who you're at least taking shots on at running back, I don't know how your team's gonna end up. Like, if you have literally no one, like you're taking 0 RB literally, I don't think you're gonna end up as a top 6 team. But if you have some decent mid-round flyers, then that's a very strong wide receiver core. And if you have another quarterback that you didn't list, you can be a strong team.
This team can be a contender, but what you need is Cooper Kupp, and essentially, like, who was a quarterback last year? I'm thinking about. You need a top 12 performer, both positions. Like one of these guys has to blow up, like Kupp did, or last. I've got a team that looked a lot like this, and I was a heavy contender, and it's because I had Kupp, and it was unusual in that format to have Kupp, so that hurt me. And I think it was Jalen Hurts. It's just outscoring the QB and the wide receiver position is how you beat the need for running back. So I like your depth at wide receiver for sure. The only other note I've got is if I'm at all unsure about my tight end depth and I don't want to go get Pitts or Kelsey, or I'm suggesting Evan Ingram and Hunter Henry to people.
Yeah, those are good.
Those are easy players to trade, very startable.
I like your Hurts too.
If it's tight end, I don't know if it's tight end premium, but then you could trade one of those wide receivers for a Kelsey and just buy the points there. Because I don't think Komet and Irv really get it done as far as positional advantage. So if you're gonna go 0 RB, you need that positional advantage. And unless you have a lot of flex spots, I think you're gonna end up with some of those points on your bench when you could have that point be in their tight end slot again instead.
Good point. And the reason I like suggesting those two at tight end is they cost nothing that's on this list. So I'm assuming you've got a second or a third laying around somewhere. You can work out some kind of deal. But since we're telling Steven he needs players, what would you be most likely to trade off of this roster? For me, it's probably Deontay Johnson, and I hate myself for it, DK and Godwin. Those are the 3 players I'd be trying to make moves with.
Yeah, I trade like a Godwin for Kelsey.
And to me, I think Metcalf is probably the most overvalued by the community,
right.
And that's the guy that I'd be shopping.
I try to trade DK for Andrews if it's tight end.
Well, I'm asking because earlier we were talking about DJ Moore, and we were like, that's more. Would he not make the list?
I like DJ Moore.
I don't think the community. So I think the metrics community overvalues DJ Moore, but I don't think the community overvalues DJ Moore because the metrics.
Honestly, no. I think the whole community does because everyone's thinking, oh, he's really good. He's had 1,100 yards in all these seasons. Just needs a quarterback.
The metrics community is over here. A cash with you.
You don't need
overvaluing DJ Moore, but because they're so invested. But I think most people are like, yeah, he's good. He's young. He scores 4 touchdowns. He's going to be a wide receiver too.
Yeah, I think there's some people like that, but then again, it only takes one person to bring the market value up because that's what the startups look like.
I think you might be just because Dynasty has such a nerd leaning. And not to out myself, but there are very few heavy film grinders in our little Dynasty community. Big. There's Ray GQ, there's you, and Matt Wallman, basically.
Yeah, Wallman.
Most of us, and there are many that are 50-50, to be fair. But especially if you see a strong disparity between good players, not questionable value. But DJ Moore is definitely good, but Dynasty likes him more than redraft. And that's probably because we do have a nerd leaning, either it doesn't matter. It's just interesting thought.
Got so invested in him, whatever it was 4 years ago, or when he came out, that everyone was like, DJ Moore is the second coming. Look at his yards per team pass. Actually, I don't think yards per team pass attempt was a thing at that point. It was something else, a different acronym. But yeah,
he had like 6
yards per round run now, Zach.
I'm sorry. I'm behind the times.
I just wanted to throw his name out here because outside of Higgins and Waddle, I think everything's shoppable to put you to win. And don't give it up for nothing. Those Godwin, DK, and Deontay are the easiest trades for me. But if they want something that's more value and they value DJ more, I wouldn't be afraid to do that, to go get Jalen Hurts or to go make that difference-making move. So
yeah,
I just like that. Throwing wet socks and see who jumps on them. Seth, drafting 7th in a Superflex startup. Nice. Sunday. Is there a QB cutoff where going running back wide receiver is better? Yeah, top 5 for me. If I can't get one of those guys that I think's top 5, I'm out. And my top 5 might be different than yours.
I think I have 6.
Zach, is there a cutoff for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's right in that area. I mean, it depends on whether you think Burrow is worth paying up for or not, I think, isn't it? Isn't that like the cutoff?
Yeah.
Like between that 5 or 6, you got like Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and then if you want Burrow,
I think there are 3 I consider drafting in the first round. Honestly, if I really were to put myself on the clock, if Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or Lamar Jackson are there. And Lamar, that team's going to be more run heavy, but I love him. So those 3 I take in the first round. Actually, this year it probably does expand to 5. I'm okay with Herbert and Murray as well, because the first round is so much more weak this year. You know what I mean? There's Jamar Chase and Jefferson, and it gets pretty weak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I probably do have 5 now. I think
Watson fits in there for me.
You're not worried, and again, I don't know, but you're not worried that he is suspended a year?
I don't think it's a year. I think.
But you draft him in the first round of a startup with that risk. Maybe that's
I would not deign to try to figure out what is in Goodell's mind, and that's what matters. Because nothing else matters. What matters is what Roger Goodell wants to do. He suspended Zeke a couple of years ago for that 6 games for way less than what is going on with Watson.
I'd much rather Russell Wilson later.
I don't like.
What I would say is you don't have to.
Yeah,
you don't have to draft Deshaun Watson in the first, maybe third. And I probably for Wilson.
He's not going to fall that.
He's not going to fall there. He's going to go early second at worst. I'd take him in the late first.
But I would rather pivot to, again, you end up with like Derek Carr and Cousins and that range of quarterback. I'm happy with a couple of those guys rather than pay up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you miss that, whatever you decide your cutoff wants to be, Seth, you then hit the second tier, real hard. If you miss it, you just 3 when it's really uncomfortable to draft 3. Just to lay that out there. This year, the first round does feel a little weaker, so I think you should probably have more on that. I'll just draft a QB. They're safer no matter what. It's good process. Joel, would you guys trade MT and a 23 third for Ayuk?
I would not.
Unless you really need to get rid of MT and you're rebuilding and no one else is biting on any offer, then I would just hold MT. I like him to bounce back, and if he does bounce back, it's not the best proposition because there is risk. But then, if he does, there's insanely high upside from a points perspective for Michael Thomas. And even if you are rebuilding, if the points come, then the value comes.
Well, and I think there's risk with Ayuk too. I mean,
I agree.
Like Debo went back there. I mean, it's not like they didn't ship Debo, so it's still Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle with who knows what's happening at quarterback. So
I've been all over Michael Thomas and baseball, especially in the early part of this offseason. But no, I'm starting to get worried. I don't know where the noise is coming from. All the team has said is his ankle might have a few extra hurdles. I don't even know what that means. I'm caught between, I think people are too low on Ayuk and too low on Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas has a higher ceiling. So honestly, Ayuk for MT straight up, it's if your team sucks, take the younger guy, I guess. I'm probably still on MT here, but it's a little awkward for me because I know where the noise is coming from. I don't know if it's real or just we've been sitting around for 2 months without football, and so we're making shit up. You know what I mean?
If you're at a point where taking the younger guy is beneficial to your team, don't let a 23 third stand in the way. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care.
The third doesn't wait. It doesn't matter. That's fine.
I mean, Peter said straight up. Basically, this is straight up.
Yeah. So it's a little awkward. I'm still probably leaning MT. If it's not a number, I don't believe it. So, yeah, probably MT. But there's a lot of smoke. I don't know right now. But, yeah, MT for me, too. Steven, again. Start 12. 2 true QBs, by the way. I don't think
right. So you need a second quarterback.
Not super flex, just 2 true QBs.
Yeah, you definitely need to have.
Yeah, you got to make them
7 in that tier. Expand the tier for sure. That does matter. Eric, mission accomplished. Trade details. I sent Higgins, Elijah Moore, and a 106. I like those things, but
and a 23
first. And I received Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards, who, and Nico Collins. Fair trade. Oh, it's rough. Honestly, it's a quarterback and a super flex, I'm assuming. So.
Right. You didn't have to give a quarterback, and you got a really good quarterback, but you did give a lot of value.
Yeah.
That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 firsts, though, if you just count him first. That's a lot.
That's what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I was.
I'm
that
still
would just help. I would rather have the 5 first.
Yeah, I'm probably on the side with Higgins, but
yeah.
And I'm not a Nico Collins fan. I guess it was.
I didn't even. I'm just ignoring Nico Collins.
But
and Gus Edwards.
That's just Lamar Jackson's trade.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I think I would bulk and reject that trade, but you got Lamar Jackson, so I'm not going to tell you failed. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, you got a quarterback and what I'm hoping, dear God, I'm hoping is a super flex at least.
But you gave up. I mean, you gave up a quarterback. Obviously, not a quarterback at the same level as Lamar Jackson. But 106, you could have Kenny Pickett.
Oh, that's true. It could be Pickett. It could be Pickett. Yeah, it could be Pickett.
And the 23rd.
And then the first on top.
I would take Higgins.
It's an overpay, but if you're happy, Eric, we're happy for you.
Yeah, if you're happy, you're good. You got Lamar Jackson, you're not gonna hate it. I would say it wasn't fair. The other guy is a dick. That's what I would say. Come on, dude, calm down. But I mean, you got the guy you wanted, and it's a quarterback without giving a quarterback, so it's rough, and I get it. Gavin Grant, and if that other guy's watching, you're a dick. No, not really. I didn't mean that. Gavin, 10 team, 1 QB, AJ Brown plus a 23 first and a third for CD and ETN.
AJ Brown in the first.
AJ Brown.
Whew. Man, I'm just hitting balls here. Yeah, I'm on the other side. I take CD in the ETN side.
Really? I mean, AJ Brown and CD Lamb to me are a push. I'll take the first over ETN 10 times out of 10.
It's closer for me for the first versus ETN, but I lean the first.
ETN was my running back 4 or 5 in that class.
He was my running back 1, but
I'm sorry.
Definitely risky off the injury, and 23 first, obviously gold.
I'm still just expecting that value bump, and I could trade that maybe for a first something, and then I've got CD.
The value bump coming for the 23 one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's close.
Definitely. I like points. Okay, I've got no excuse. That's where my mind lives. Sean and Najee for a 223 first. Am I gonna have to start not liking Najee? This value's too good. I think I'll take
one
the first,
top 3. It's hard to say top 3 when you just add a top 5 running back.
Yeah,
right.
I think I just pick the first.
I think I would too, but it's close. Like that, I mean, that's Najee's value. Like that's
I'll take the picks, but it is good value. 2 firsts for Najee seems about right.
See, I want Najee with the idea no one wants him at that value, so I'm getting a little less, but it's fair. I would say that is actually a fair trade. 12 team especially, Superflex. Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Good evening, gentlemen. TJ Banks it's just so much too good for us. That is such a polite way of saying hello, especially on a show that I just called someone a dick on. 12 team Superflex PPR traded away Mariota, great. Winston, all these things are good to trade away. Trubisky, ETN, 1.9. It's all right. That's
a better trade.
That's the win.
He actually got things that are better than that third of Nico Collins. Not to make Eric feel bad here. One league to another, it's gonna just.
That's true.
Why not in my league? But
just unloading those backups, future backups.
2 different ends of the spectrum. TJ Banks here got a steal, and Eric really got taken to town. But you both got Lamar Jackson, so I don't hate it. Tony 187, not 186. Make a note. Dynasty Contract League. I have no input. Need to pick one of these to sign for 3 years. Superflex, half point PPR. Kamara, Fournette, A-Rob, Keenan Allen.
Assuming
oh my goodness, for
signing
3
for the
years?
same amount,
it's not a running back.
Is it the same amount of money, or is it just the contract is time? Then I'd do Kamara. If it's the same thing, same price for everyone. Like if you're just like who would I pick?
Same price for everyone
for 3 years.
Yeah, I get it.
I would do Kamara.
I'm tempted by Allen.
Yeah, I and he's
too,
30.
Yeah, he's decrepit, Peter.
But
so's Alvin, right?
But Keenan Allen doesn't win.
Yeah, he's already slow. How much slower can he get?
Yeah, he wins in a way that ages well. So it's probably Keenan
Allen.
Kamara's
Kamara ages well too. If you like, in theory, that receiving low rushing, no less injury history for him.
And he's a running back.
In theory.
Yeah. It's probably Kamara, but I'm tempted by Allen. I just wanted to say that just in case we're wrong and Allen turns no.
Right. It's a good head.
Probably Kamara. But that's where my mind went as well. Like I don't think Allen ages badly. I'm not worried about that. Sean, trade in 10-team Superflex, half-point PPR league. Mac Jones, the 108, 23 third. Or Jalen Waddle.
Waddle.
Also second. It's just Waddle.
Yes.
Yep.
Good trade.
Consensus.
Hey, look, another trade with a quarterback not going on one side. That's interesting. I'm stacked at wide receiver. Would you trade Metcalf for a 23 first, second, third, and Matt Ryan in Superflex? It's a little low, but I don't.
I probably would. But
what?
Hey, buddy!
Hello, Dynasty Game Night.
Oh, I got pushed to the bottom.
Hey man, I live down here. You get used to it. Don't worry about it.
It's so weird. There's 4 of us now.
I know. Dynasty Outhouse, Meet Akash. I believe you podcast together.
We do.
Yeah.
I've met
We're
him
best
before.
friends already.
We get one more guy. We can run a full court game here.
If you want to just play the Dynasty game night that we just finished, you guys can play now before I put it out. I'll host again. You three can play. It'll be great. You're wearing the shirts.
That's what I said. I knew you were doing that, so I figured I'd support you.
Aw, you're the sweetest. Okay,
I mean, I'm in the top 5.
Metcalf for a first, second, and third in 2023.
Is anyone sad to coming in second in a sweetness competition to J Mike? I mean, like,
that's true. I still think I'm on the 23 first side, but just barely because I get a quarterback and I get a first.
I'd take Metcalf there on the value just seems not enough for Metcalf.
yeah, I think Metcalf should be the answer. That doesn't mean he is the answer, but it should be the answer.
Yeah, I'd probably just keep Metcalf. But it's if you're building kind of an answer, but
I mean, Metcalf's young. I don't think there's any.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just
am
keep Metcalf.
Very concerned about a guy who is not necessarily a high volume receiver now in either a situation where you've got a bad quarterback or a young quarterback next year. I'm worried about that.
Exactly.
Because he does not have a good quarterback this year, regardless.
Yeah, but at least Drew Lock can throw the ball really far and he can run really fast.
And you know, he did have
he'll make it work, Andre Johnson style.
Yeah.
That's fair. Edward, hi guys. How worried are we about Justin Fields? So worried. I almost don't want to roster him. In fact, that's where I'm at. Situation granted the lack of weapons. Would you attempt to move him and a first for a Kyler, Lamar, and Burrow?
Absolutely
do that.
I mean, I love Fields, and I think he will be fine. But yeah, I do that.
Yeah, move him for that. But as for the situation, it's tough because it's not good. And Fields wasn't very good as a rookie. I've been trying to look more into like metrics for quarterbacks as rookies because some of them could be useful, but in some of them he's good, some of them he's bad, and from a point scoring perspective.
Look, man, with Adam Gase, you give him the year. Don't even worry about it. I'm doing the same.
Yeah. Matt Nagy.
I don't care about metrics.
Same thing.
Oh, what did you? No, Matt Nagy. What did you? No, Matt Nagy. But he was Matt.
It's the same thing. It's the same picture.
Yeah. So he's fine.
Eric, not to be mean, but I think this is a trade that seems reasonable if you roster Justin Fields. No one not rostering Justin Fields is like, yeah, I'd do that deal. But in your league, if you can get any of those trades, I would go and do it straight away. But honestly,
you do that anyway.
You're missing a first to get close to him. Like that probably tells me I need to tell you to be worried about Justin Fields. If this is where you're at on him, you're not worried enough. That would be my guess. And that's that's not evaluating. Like I don't think Justin Fields bad particularly. It's just the odds are shrinking, but he can run, and Trey Lance is a top 5 dynasty quarterback for that reason. So I'm not going to tell you there's no hope. Just the odds are slimming. Joel A. In a different league, 1 QB, I got offered Pittman and a 23 first for Lamb.
In a 1 quarterback, the 23 first is not as valuable as it is in the Superflex.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just to say that. Joel to start.
Yeah, like I've seen like the under over for quarterbacks in the first round, like 5 or 6. So.
That's what I'm saying. Like there are going to be like 3 to 5 quarterbacks in this class coming that people are going to be interested in.
Yep, I'd keep Lamb.
If Lamb doesn't have a top 12 season, and Pittman finishes again, or Pittman finishes as a top 24. How different is the value between Pittman and Lamb going to be?
The points aren't that different, but the value is.
But what will it be after this season if that happens?
I'm more confident in Lamb's points.
You're not answering my question, Akash. Don't skirt the question. Answer my question.
I mean, with the hypothetical,
yeah,
Lamb probably falls. I've been saying that for Lamb. If he isn't top 12, his value probably falls outside of because he's wide receiver 3 right now. If he's not top 12, it probably falls. But the value is on the Lamb side. I would not sell Lamb that short.
It's really funny to me. Like if you look at the the value and the Lamb side and how much he could fall, and the fact that he had a bad year and still put up the same like points wise as Metcalf, Evans, Waddle, who everybody loves. Like it's funny to me that's the
expectations for Lamb going into the season were really high.
I mean, the expectations for Metcalf were pretty high.
Yeah, like they've all lost value. The only reason Lamb stayed as wide receiver 3 on all the ADP sites is because every wide receiver not named JJ and Chase has fallen.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah, it's just whoever's next who's pretty good and also under 24 years old. Again, though, if I'm taking risk in Dynasty and choosing players, I will choose Lamb over a mystery guy and Pittman every time. And if Lamb literally plays every game and finishes as like wide receiver 109 and Pittman finishes as a wide receiver 15, I will still want Lamb over Pittman. So I'm good.
That's not fair.
That's not true. That's not true.
Points-wise, I like the idea because the points aren't that different, but I feel like you get more. You can get more for Lamb.
I think Lamb's upside is so much better, but
I get it. The fact that he's skinny, he's a beta. Come on. Nah.
BJ Lee, been on the podcast. What is it? 56 minutes. He's already learned to troll me. I love it. As your answer, BJ Lee. Any chance on your wide receiver ones any change in your wide receiver ones in this class? Seems like Burks has the most upside, and we'll see the most targets year one. I actually kind of disagree.
I think
London has no one to compete with except
Pitts.
Any change in your wide receivers after the draft? I think that's basically the question. I moved Drake London up to my wide receiver 2. Well, actually, other people fell.
You're almost there, Peter. Join us at wide receiver 1.
No. Define us. It still Burks at 1. It still Burks at 1.
Yeah, Burks and London, just because I can't disprove it, to be honest. But I feel like he has a slender path to success in the NFL. But I mean, everything's there to say he could. So I put him as 2.
My wide receiver rankings didn't really change. I still got Burks. I've got Wilson at 2, and then London at 3. So
if you can find me someone honestly projecting him to have top 12 upside without describing how he could play an entirely different wide receiver position, then I'll take that back. But
it's
everyone I know that likes him that good, if he can move into the slot, if he can play an entirely different role in the NFL than he played in college, he could be great. If he could be Michael Thomas, which he's never done ever before, he could be great. And I really don't like that idea. I need to believe he can succeed at what he's done well at. And it's like it's a slender path that direction.
For London,
no, they can't. All the numbers say he can, London. But I don't like the idea he'll convert.
London basically has to be Mike Evans to succeed the way he has succeeded. But how many Mike Evans are there?
1. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Drake London.
How many any player other?
Well, but I mean, like how many players in the NFL succeed the way Mike Evans does?
I just watched Red Zone, man. Damn, sorry.
No, what I would say is roles do change. Deontay Johnson, outside guy, inside guy in the NFL. Same with Golden Tate. It's not like he can't pick up more of that work. I just feel that's a little less certain than Burks literally just doing what he has been doing.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, don't let Zach confuse it. It's not like he hates him either.
No,
why do you have him like wide receiver
3?
4?
Yeah. No, why are you so low on London?
Why do you hate him
on London? If he's in your top 3, you think he's probably going to do something.
I can submit it to you in song form, Russ. I have that. I have that ability.
It was so good.
So it's not like we don't like him. And Wilson, I've come down on a little bit just because I realized the reason I like Wilson more than Olave is because people tell me Wilson's more certain. And I can't find anything to say he's more certain. To be honest, I think him and Olave are pretty much neck and neck. So that changed a little bit for me. But that actually just reverted back to what I thought pre-draft. I changed my post-draft ranks. My pre-draft ranks were exactly that. But I think that's the biggest change, right? For most people, it's going to be where London and Burks ended up. I think Burks you say it has the most upside. It feels, and again, in my little bubble, but it feels like Burks is more of the 104 than the 102 at this point. And London's the one that people are more certain on. But I could be
wrong. I've been seeing London go earlier most of the time.
In Trade Addicts ADP, all those wide receivers are practically identical. It just got ruined in Trade Addicts 1, where one guy had the first 5 out of 6. He had 5 out of the first 6 picks. So he just took 4 wide receivers first, and he took London ahead of Burks.
That's
the only reason it's skewed.
You just take your rankings, throw them up in the air, and hope.
Yeah.
That's always so much fun to do.
But that's the whole reason why this class is so frustrating.
Yeah, and the reason why I didn't DLF ADP, for some reason I can't hear anyone right now.
We can hear you, Peter. Keep talking.
Yeah, keep talking, Peter. You can't hear us tell him to keep talking.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, in DLF ADP, it was pretty much the same thing. London had a higher range, but he was more consistently drafted as a second overall, and Burks fell in contention with Walker, to be honest with you. That's why I say that.
Yeah. For Dyko's ADP, London is 3rd and Burks is 4th. And it's like a round difference, 3.4 versus 4.5.
Really
not round, 1 pick difference, sorry.
ADP is some homogenous thing. Like 7 different types of ADP we just mentioned. We don't know. We got no idea. Go ask your league mates. Hey, where are you going to draft? Probably the best idea. Shorts. 12-team Superflex PPR, not a contender. Trying to move Zeke and or CEH. Best to move now, or in season's probably best for those 2 guys.
Any running back. The closer you get to setting a lineup is better. And if you're willing to take the risk of hoping they have a good first few games, then waiting for that could be better. But that's risk that they could suck. In which case you're screwed. But like right before, when people need to start thinking about their lineups, is your real window to sell running backs, because these guys won't have value to match their production
till we get to that redraft mentality.
Yeah, so you got to wait for that to happen.
Absolutely. Bruce Matson, David Bell or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Bell.
But the value says Helaire right now.
I love Helaire at that value. Like outside top 24 value for a running back who's probably going to finish inside the top 24. Like that's where I would find my running backs, to be honest.
You'd give like the 202 to 205 for Clyde Edwards-Helaire right now?
That seems all right.
After Bell.
I don't think
I want Bell. But
as a
Bell goes,
and again, like I want Bell too, but I'm playing devil's
sure.
advocate with the value. Like
right.
I feel
where Bell is going, I would trade for Edwards-Helaire, but the player I'd take over.
Not the player. That's exactly.
Well, that's why I said like the 202 to 205. I wouldn't give up a mid-second for Clyde Edwards-Helaire at this point.
No, you wouldn't. Most would.
I would. Yeah,
I kind of like that.
That's a good value. You hate him, Russ.
I do.
Is it
disappointed? Never disappoint, Russ. That's how you. Freak Stomp. I just put in Booth on what?
Oh, put him on the block and see what happens. I don't know. I feel like putting him on the block just blares to your league mates. Hey, I'm fire selling these guys.
I have been an advocate for using your trade bait realistically. Yes. Because it will be such a useful resource, and no one does. So it's just
no. I am.
If you put them on the trade block,
I'm on your side. Yes,
yeah. I'm trying. I'm out there using it legitimately. But if you put it on a trade block, people assume it means you will give them for nothing.
No,
it's worth nothing.
That's not what that means. That's
I know.
Not the point. I'm reinforcing. I don't mean to seem argumentative with you. I am enthusiastically agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm upset you're not being.
I agree with you guys, but the masses do not agree. So,
I would say
what is right isn't always popular.
Unfortunately, that won't work. I mean, again, not to constantly refer to John Bosch, but that's everything I say in our league chats. That's basically his response. Is do you think that means you get trade offers? Because you say like, I'm open to trading this guy, and he's like, do you think that'll mean you get trade offers? And unfortunately, because he's right. You have to send offers. Rarely.
Whenever someone puts like a bad player on the block, I just send a fourth for them as a meme, even if they're worth like a third or something. Like someone put Van Jefferson on the block, and I don't like Van Jefferson, so like I'll give you a fourth for him. just to fuck with them.
And that's why everyone misuses a trade bait. And where are we? Eric, Zach talking up the 23 draft picks again. Reminder, Sam Howell, Spencer Rattler, that guy, and that guy were all talked about 1 year ago today as future NFL QBs.
We know nothing.
I have no idea. Sounds like a Devi thing. That's cool. Yeah, and the draft class is going to change, but they also predicted the 2021 draft class was going to be real strong. It was. They predicted the 2020.
Right.
Well, that's not that it's the same class, but if Travis May is telling me a class is going to be strong 3 years out, I take it seriously. Yeah. If I just hear about it on Twitter, I don't. Travis May is pretty much guaranteed it. I mean, those level of analysts, they're not just saying these few players make it great. It's probably a strong class.
We're actually
I normally
look
at it with skepticism.
Tomorrow night, Eric, tomorrow night, the Dynasty Dummies, J Mike is we're going to break down, I can't remember exactly how he put it, but the anatomy of a good class. And so
that'd be interesting.
Check that out. We'll be on the DFPN
network
feed, the Dynasty Dummies. So,
yes, sir. I've always felt it's more about how comfortable we are predicting which player is better than another.
Yes,
to be honest.
Yes,
but,
absolutely.
Excuse me, Joe. It's been a while since I've been able to do that because I was smug one episode, and I think she left me for a while.
She was on last night with Shane and Cal, and I saw her, and I yelled Joe, but yeah. We get to do it on this one tonight.
They didn't get it. Hey, Joe. Welcome back. Pete, Zach, and Akash, what metrics are the best indicators for future starters? Wide receiver 24, running back 12, tight end 12. Assuming we're talking about the NFL.
I'll defer to you guys. Just put myself on mute. I saw metrics.
Zach likes the one-hand catch per target.
Past points are... one of them. Just like whoever's the most productive 1 year tend to be the most productive next year. Obviously, it's not a catch-all, but by and large, you'll find that. And then also stuff like usage. Players that get used a lot are probably going to be pretty productive, even if they aren't productive.
Volume over efficiency for sure.
Right. Yeah.
And so even if they would say they're
productive 1 year, but they get opportunity and they're just not efficient on it, then I would like that player more than someone who scored the same amount of points with more efficiency and less volume because volume is more predictive. And so just got to hope the efficiency goes semi-normal and then hopefully you get more production.
It's interesting. We were talking about it in Discord the other day, and especially since you're position ranking it. Well, we mentioned it in the Discord. I mentioned it in the Discord. Okay, I'm a lonely sad nerd. Inside certain position ranks, ADP beats overall positional scoring, like position rank and therefore points per game. So like inside the top 5, top 12 at running back, we tend to get ADP tends to be more indicative of who's actually going to be in the top 12 than even repeat rate. So what they did in points per game. I find that interesting. So if you're trying to predict top 12 running backs, ADP tends to be better in Dynasty than their previous year performance. That's normally because it can adjust for simple things like, 1 year there's James White. Pretty easy not to predict him as a top 12 running back the following year, and so on and so forth. But it's just one player difference. But I did find that interesting because points per game, just as a single stat, if you're looking across all positions, that's pretty much the best indicator. I've built one I like better because it scores better, specifically at all positions outside tight end. That's called a sophomore model, but that's still using the per game performance adjusted with ADP. It's using... I'm not going to tell you answering. The formula's in the database. It's written down, but essentially I'm adjusting their per game performance on routes and per team pass attempt and multiplying it by some coefficients, but it only just beats out points per game. Honestly, if you're just looking for a stat to guide you into next year, points per game, like Akash said, is probably the best indicator across any of them. If you want to beat something like that, for me, it's not yards per run. It's not some special metric. It's adjusting for context, the same way you can adjust for James White not being a top 12 running back. So you look at the list in that top 12 and make some simple assumptions about career year, age progression, touchdown rates. That's right. Those things added together
The robots will never replace us, Peter. The robots, we're here to stay.
I'm pretty sure Tan-Ho and Matt Spencer's just about built something that replaces all of us, but no one's figured it out. They'll replace us eventually. And that's fine.
So
we're dead man walking, but until then, we're still walking.
John Bosch texts me, tell Peter to quit ignoring the Twitch chat and treating the Twitch audience like less than. I replied,
I'm not. They come up in order, John.
I replied, we are currently on a comment from 956, which we were still doing Dynasty Game Night at that point. His reply, I know.
That's right. Because Johannes didn't even mention you, Russ.
John expects priority. Right. That's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm. So we're on a comment from 956. John, an hour later, said, where the hell is Russ? Thank you. There you go, John. Sorry I didn't answer that earlier, even though we explained it in the first few minutes.
Boss, shouldn't you be playing Fortnite right now?
Oh, sure. There he shows up. Everyone follow John Bush. He's absolutely hilarious and a genius when it comes to Dave. By the way, I make fun of John a lot. It's worth mentioning I actually like him now and again.
John Taylor is a wonderful human being who is just the worst.
He's literally busy right now raising thousands of dollars for charity. So
I was so sad that I ripped the hole in that shirt. It is so comfortable.
Oh, I love it.
Such a good shirt.
Are. What is it about fantasy shirts? They all come in real comfortable, actually. Soft and nice. Anyway, TaylorMade, perhaps the best name I've read in a while, apart from Joe. What does Kamara value in picks? 1.
I think this is actually Jake dropping the TaylorMade like the
nice. Yeah, I think Kamara's value in picks in a vacuum is a first-round pick. That's the bitch of running backs, right?
Will you give up a 23 first for Alvin Kamara?
No,
even though sure would be.
But
fun,
I think I would. I sure wouldn't give up. I wouldn't trade him for less than that. If you know what I mean. That's kind of where I'm drawing the line.
It'd be fun just to be team old guy because everyone yells at you for doing it. But
now, what do you think, Russ? You would have to put with Kamara to get to a 23 first. Do you think you could put a second and get to a first? Then I would do that. I would do that if I'm a rebuilding team. I would do that.
Yeah, I was doing it with much lesser players, but also in 24. I spammed my entire league with Kareem Hunt and a 24 second for a 24 first.
That's actually a good one. Do you think you could get a 24 first for Kamara?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then do that. Yeah.
You could maybe get a 24, like we said earlier with McLaurin, getting a 24 first plus a 23 second.
And a 23 second. Yeah.
Only if you're not invested in starting a roster next year, like completely out. Like there's no point
rebuilding.
Trade him.
I mean, if you're rebuilding, that's what you like. Again,
if you know your direction, you might as well commit to
load yourself up for bear.
Yeah, that's all.
But have a plan. Don't.
Plans are overrated. Just go for it.
Okay, just go for it.
Really look like a guy with a plan.
Make a rough plan. It's like a draft strategy. You don't have to stick to it exactly, but you have to have a rough idea of what you're trying to achieve. It helps you get there. 10 team looked into a stacked starting core of Chase Lamb, JJ Pittman, Mixon, Zeke, and Monty. Okay, so go win this. Yeah, that's a good team. That's a very good team. Has strong offer for Chase, DJ Moore, Higgins, Dobbins. Take the trade because value or hold because no need.
That's good value. Yeah,
that's good value. Have we seen the height? Like normally, I'd say we're at the. I don't know. We've seen the height of Chase's value. Like I said, the first round feels weak right now, and he's at the top of it. You know, last year we saw most of what he can do in points per game, not all of what he can do. He didn't rack up the yards; he racked up touchdowns. Once he adds touchdowns to yards,
he had the yards and the touchdowns. He didn't have the target share and catches. It's been
how many?
But he just scores points, so he trusts him to score points.
How many players are you starting Giddy up? Because that kind of matters to me.
It does.
Because if you trade and get
nitty-gritty of it,
2 more wide receivers and you're not starting one of them, then you're actually at a net negative.
Yeah.
That's
actually probably the important question. I do think there's somewhere for Chase's value to go, which is weird because he's a 101. So where could he possibly go? But I don't know. I feel like that's of interest. But yeah, Zach's point's probably the best one. Evening all. Hey, Weaves. Joe, also Scott Connor is talking about trading our fringe players right now, even backups we just drafted for flexibility. What do you think? How much does flexibility and open roster spot matter? More than a lot of players.
I wouldn't do it.
I've never in Dynasty cared about the value of an open roster spot. Literally never.
I like about it as a concept. Whether I don't value having open roster spots, but the idea that some players are clogging a roster, that some aren't worth a roster spot but have to be rostered. I think that's an interesting concept to help guide how to just flip your roster. I mean, I always think about it as there's got to be a certain number of players on my bench. I'm okay just dropping to pick someone else up.
Well, that's it. Like, I don't mind trading fringe players if you can take 2 pennies and make a nickel. That's fine. But in terms of like
an Elijah Penny for
exactly. Danny Dimes.
They make it a dime and say Danny Dimes.
The other thing I'd say about this sounds fine in a vacuum until you try. Well, it's a trade bait we're talking about. If you put your flex baits in a trade off, and most people are like, get out of here, I've got my own roster cloggers. But if they have value, trade them, sure.
But as long as you're realistic about it, I think that is something that can absolutely work. But you will have to find someone who likes those guys. Like, it's tough just to say, here's my trash. Can I give you 2 trash for one of your not really trash? Like, you're gonna have to find someone who is thrilled with the idea of Brian Edwards.
And I think the other thing to keep in mind is Scott is brilliant. He is a portfolio player.
Yes.
And so him talking about trading at the back end of your roster, if he's got 30 or 40 leagues, trading guys at the back end of your roster across 30 or 40 leagues is going to be easier because there are going to be some leagues that he can do that. Some leagues that he, may not be able to, but it doesn't matter because he's got 30 or 40. Where when I'm talking about fantasy football or dynasty, I'm talking about coming at it from 6 leagues. So understand that if you're a portfolio player, absolutely take what Scott is doing and put that into practice. If you're not a portfolio player, understand the concepts, but the practice may not be quite the same with what you're doing.
A lot of things work at volume.
Yeah,
I guess that's what my perspective is. I think it's a really good idea, but in practice, in just playing in a few leagues, the idea is sell your isn't quite trash. Sounds great, but it's if you can get it, sure. Makes sense. Weez and Joe are just going at it. It's pretty Jared Goodman. Have picked 111 and 112 after winning last season. Congrats, man. And I think I've got a shot to repeat. That's awesome. Solid at wide receiver, but need to improve running back too. Should I trade my picks or do I hold and draft? It's about the trade, man. That's going to be my answer.
Yeah.
If you get good trades, trade.
Leonard Fournette or something.
It's May. You don't need anything.
Yeah,
it's Dynasty.
But also the
112 and
111 are worth most right now. If you're gonna make a trade for a running back,
and I don't think that you draft a running back. If you've got those picks, I would be shopping to get an established running back if I couldn't get a deal that I want. Yeah,
Gibson.
Aaron Jones,
Elijah Mitchell's a good one right now. Those are all ups.
I'd rather do all that instead of drafting James Cook.
Right.
You could trade back and get Clyde Edwards-Helaire, given what we just talked about with Russ. Yeah. So you
that
could
111
a few spots.
That 111 112 though, if you're picking, looks like Bell, it looks like Pickens, it looks like Sky Moore. There are players there that I'm interested in.
I don't think you come September or August. I don't think you can trade Pickens for Fournette once everyone else starts starting rosters. I think you make that move right now when you have the pick, and that's the box that everyone wants instead of the boat of one player. Right. People love it when it's a pick and not a player, just because it's endless possibility.
It's that flexibility. We're back to Scott Connor again. You have that flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Send some offers that you think are reasonable that improve your team one way or the other, and see what comes back, if anything. Make them reasonable, but that would be the way forward. Zach Harris, how do you all feel about Alex Pierce? He's interesting.
He's interesting because he's he's big, and that's all I can really say about him.
It's interesting because he got draft capital.
Draft capital, he's big. He's
draft capital.
Not very good, but lean into the variance. Maybe there's a small chance.
Landing spot isn't terrible.
They fixed Pittman.
Landing spot ain't terrible.
They didn't fix Pittman. Pittman was good coming out. They didn't fix Pittman.
They fixed it. But no.
I love it. I need something for film watching that I can just be like, variance. Variance.
Well, he didn't do that in college.
Variance.
I think the way we use words in fantasy, you can just do that. That was just variance of the tape. No.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Outlier can be anything. Just using up buzzwords and people will get it.
He must have done that in a game I didn't see.
Oh, it's that secret game we didn't get.
Yeah.
Weaves. Quick temp.
If only I had the all 22s.
In a startup, Weaves was offered Javonte for 223 first, 210, and the 23 third. My team won't be competitive this year.
Yeah, do it. I mean, same thing we said for Najee and.
Yeah, I'd rather have the first. Yep.
Yeah, I'm much more excited to trade Javonte for 2 first. Not because I don't think he could do what Najee Harris did,
but
because
Najee's already doing it.
Yep.
So
I am so excited for me to turn in my article about selling Javonte Williams and it just getting rejected because I made it the longest thing I've ever written in my life because it's hilarious to me and it's just going to be awful. I look forward to it though.
I'm looking forward to reading that. And Dustin Oz.
Yeah.
Evening, gents. I'm in a win now mode. We like that mode, Dustin. Good job. 10-team flex league. Post draft, I traded Garrett Wilson. Cool. Rondell Moore. Sad but true. For AJ Brown. Awesome trade, man. That's
a good trade.
You got your confirmation bias, buddy. He's a good.
Validated.
Rondell Moore is the face planner, so sadly, he's dead.
Joe
now.
wants package 2. Yeah. Especially because you're rebuilding.
Yep. Absolutely, Joe.
Zach, it's okay. We got it.
Yeah, but Peter's never gonna get the name right anyway. You're playing into his strength.
I don't say it or spell it right. You're good.
That's what you got to do. Get a letter wrong, and
who
Peter
is Alice Pierce?
That's how I recognize things. I'm just very excited to see how insane the 23 first becomes, especially as people start losing and
they're already
pretty. I guess they trade for picks. And they go and find out they're already twice the price.
You were eventually able to trade for 2021, regardless of how nuts it went.
Eventually.
I think it's funny. Like, it's in our head.
This is another 2021. Yeah.
They're the golden tickets and everything. But I feel like once we get towards the end of the season, it might be easier to acquire them at that point because there's no mystery anymore.
Yeah.
So like they'll have actual.
Also, because
as opposed to what it could be.
Also,
actually, to that guy's point earlier,
that is going to be 109 to 112. They're more willing to part with it, more willing to push. It's always possible, even if you have to move mountains. It's possible.
I almost feel like the minute the players start getting named and ranked, the value there's a dip because it's like it can't be anything now.
Well,
it's probably this
because there's always going to be some players that people don't like,
and we're gonna get the malaise of we've been talking about this class for 2 years, and I mean it's the same thing that like everybody picked apart Burks because Burke was the wide receiver 1,
and then he
ran
a
year and a half.
5, so he's slow. He's bad now.
Right.
Exactly.
Everybody like,
overthinking.
Yeah, and we're gonna do that with this class because we've been talking about it for so long. So
and then the draft will happen, and we're all
and then it'll come back. Yeah, but so you got to start doing it. You got to start doing it. Listen to people talking in like December, January. Make your trades, and then when people really start talking about it, in like February, March, April. Then you'll
got to ride those waves. And again, This is also we playing. It's all cyclical. Of that is, if you got people that are unaware 23 is really a thing, then none of that matters. Right.
Yeah.
Pick them clean now.
So I have Brees, and I'm 2 years out. Do I try to sell? It's a good question, actually. It's one way I keep trying to answer with all these other Brees Hall questions. If you draft the player, okay, like we say, you draft the best player. You don't try and trade it just because you have roster needs or you don't have roster needs for that matter.
Yeah.
I don't think Brees Hall is at his peak right now, and so I don't think you try and sell him right now. But if you could get a trade where you're getting more for him, then you do it. Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah,
Russ hasn't spoken for a while. I just thought I'd let it be uncomfortably silent for a while, see if we could get his comment on a
I'm
trade.
so comfortable with you guys that I don't even really. I'm good with silence.
He's fine. He's sitting back. He's
Oh,
relaxing.
Look at him. He's chilling. Be nice if the Trade Addicts podcast guy had commented on trades, but that's fine too. It's cool. Jesus. Superflex. Aaron Rodgers for the 105, 10. Yes.
Yeah, take the picks.
No, I want Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, really?
Superflex?
You're never
I'm
gonna get that
not
again.
trading a quarterback for Chris Olave. Pickens if I'm lucky.
It depends on where your team
Yeah.
is, because I like
that's-
Rodgers for that.
I mean,
I think
like
it's reasonable to
Jameson
get Rodgers for
Williams
those picks
and-
if you want to win.
Yeah.
But rebuilding, take the players, because obviously, eventually Rodgers won't be worth anything because he'll stop playing eventually because he's old. So we think that happens sooner rather than later. So you're just buying the points right now. So I'm fine with buying the points if I want the points, and I'm fine with the picks if I want the youth.
Sitting here in New England, I have been hearing Tom Brady is dust for like 6 years, and he was a top 3 quarterback last year.
Russ has abandoned us.
Yeah, but sometimes they're Tom Brady, sometimes they're Drew Brees.
Yeah, who was also 3?
Yeah, and his arm fell off.
I mean, like eventually, but like Rodgers is 38. Like he's still got
so
some
in just
time.
5 short years, Aaron Rodgers will be done.
And he's been like incredibly like I think people forget like how like the longevity of elite players, regardless of position, but especially elite quarterbacks.
I have a chart here from Adam Harstad.
Well, all I keep thinking is, if Olave is T. Higgins and if the 1010 is DJ Moore, I still have to add 3 first-round picks to get Lamar Jackson. So, I just take Aaron Rodgers. That's fine.
So Adam Harstad has expected years remaining. He doesn't go up to 38, but 37 for a quarterback is 1.3 years remaining. And that's for quarterbacks that make it to 37, so they obviously are probably good. And so getting a year or 2 out of Rodgers is the most likely outcome, I think. I think you get 2 or 3 years, but I think it's like the what Adam Harstad always talks about, where you're just flipping a coin. Sometimes it lands heads, you keep playing. Sometimes it lands tails, you fall off. Every year you get older, your chance to fall off increases.
No, it's a good table and a good way of going about it in a vacuum, but I don't have to when I have players on the block.
Yeah.
And if Olave and whoever that 110 is, guessing Pickens, because he'd be my favorite, get less than 600 receiving yards this year, they're dust. They're Terrence Marshall. And Rodgers is going to be a startable. So I trade that certainty, even if it's just for this year, to be honest, because it's Superflex and his value won't literally dust. It'll Drew Brees, which was still something.
Right. It'll drop off,
but I get it. Yeah. Sorry, Zach. We're meant to be talking about your question. How do you all feel about Alec Pierce? I think we
did
Zach
this. I
ask it
shrugged.
twice, or am I going through a moment? Joe's talking to Weave.
No, he asked the same thing twice, and he said he added something about Pittman. Yeah, they're both tall, so Matt Ryan can play chuck it ball.
I think Pittman was a better prospect than Pierce. Just
I
to be
agree.
clear.
Hold on, can I get a mark tape on that one? I just want to make sure we're at 1 hour 28 minutes and 50 seconds in, so I can. Peter said something nice about Pittman.
There you go. Brady, 12-team Superflex, half-point PPR. Which side would you? We still haven't got to John's comment, by the way. Just to let you know, when I skipped ahead an hour, we haven't legitimately.
And we're 45 minutes behind right now.
What side would you choose? Bateman, mid 23 second, early 23 third, or late 23 first and mid 24 first? For a start, I don't project like we've talked about, but I'll take the 2 first.
Take the
2 first over Bateman, yeah.
Very good.
Weaves, random team construction, pick 'em. Take Herbert, Russ, Swift, ETN, or Lance, Tua, JT, Najee.
Probably the first one. Assuming it's Superflex, I'm taking the first one.
Yeah, I'll take the
stronger running backs or stronger quarterbacks, essentially.
But I don't think you're that much. Well, yeah, you are because Najee over Etienne by quite a sight. Like
yeah. But Herbert over Lance is big, and then Russ over Tua is big.
Yeah, I would take.
Yeah, there's more certainty in the quarterbacks.
Like Etienne and Tua,
the running backs ADP. On the one side and the quarterbacks
Swift,
on the
Lance have similar ADP. Herbert goes before JT. Russ goes around the same as Najee.
Has Russ left for good, or is that, he might have left for good? I'd take the Herbert side. Stephen Peterson, 1.2 and the 1.8 for Najee. Would that be enough positional advantage?
Yeah, that's good. I like that. But I like the Najee side, to be clear.
Yeah, Najee in this class, yeah.
If we're looking at better running backs at 102, then
again, like not every class is created equal. So the 102 in this class is not the 102 in next class. It was not the 102 in the previous two classes. Like I would much rather have those than this year's 102.
Yeah, I'd take Najee side there. John, what are some of the craziest, funniest, incorrect narratives you remember in fantasy? Vacated targets. No.
Drops narratives.
No, I love quarterbacks that don't throw to running backs. That's honestly my favorite.
That's kind of a thing, though.
Because it was literally it that whole off season. It was all about Cam does not throw the running backs. It was certain. It was a fact. And all he had to say is, "I'm pretty sure he can hit that." This far.
The tendencies are real. I've seen it shown. Like
and the payoff was Christian McCaffrey. Like that's all you had to believe, that he didn't have an allergic reaction to throwing to someone with a certain type of number on his jersey. And that was my favorite personally.
RB targets are interesting. RB targets are interesting. I don't remember. Like a mixture of a bunch of factors because it is part scheme, it's part quarterback, and it's part running back. So obviously McCaffrey's a really good receiving back, so he gets receiving because he's really good at it. But I think it is partly scheme, partly quarterback. They're more so given in a sense than wide receiver and tight end targets because tendencies exist. But it's not like
I'm just gonna I think John's talking literally more player narratives for an individual play, like Chris McCaffrey won't catch the ball.
Chubb
can't catch JT.
Like
I don't even remember JT as Eddie Lacy. I do not remember that.
What about Nick Chubb?
No, I remember him was Trent Richardson.
Nick Chubb is going to come in and catch 70 balls because he's athletic.
Yes, I remember that. Yep. I remember
can pass block. That was a good one.
Maybe he can. I don't know
he
off
was
the top of
good.
my head, but the narrative is that pass blocking helps fantasy when it doesn't.
No, but the specific thing was Jamal Williams. Aaron Jones.
Jamal Williams, right? And people thought because
capital,
he can pass block, he's gonna be the starter.
And Jamal Williams
maybe he can pass block, but it's not helping him for fantasy.
Yeah, but I remember because again the payoff was Aaron Jones, and all he had to think was, like I love those small little common sense things, and it gets you a really good player. Aaron Jones is still underrated. It's awesome.
Small player narratives exist.
Ooh,
like Wandale Robinson's too short to compete or something.
Yeah, that one hasn't happened yet though. 2-2 isn't fun because it didn't work out.
Tyreek Hill is 5'8", and he worked out.
That was probably out there. I think that was more of undrafted free agent status. So
no, that's a retrospective one where he worked out despite being 5'8".
Fair.
Good narrative.
I can't remember people getting in my DMs about Laquan Treadwell. I wish they did, but everyone knew to be a little shaky with Diggs and Thielen, so probably not. But those are the ones that come to mind.
My favorite narrative in fantasy football for like 5 years in a row is Jarvis Landry is bad.
Oh yeah, that's funny. One narrative
is what targets,
and he never finished. He never finished lower than wide receiver 17 in those 5 years. It was awesome.
Yeah, because he has a low ADOT. He's obviously bad.
He's bad. Yeah.
One narrative is bad offenses limiting players when that's not the way it works because good players make good offenses.
I think so.
That's a good one.
Going back a bit, I do remember the tail end, even in his last few years, Adrian Peterson was going to start catching passes.
Yes.
It's not that he can't. It's that he done.
There was a Jordan Howard is going to catch passes too. That came from John Fox. John Fox was like, "Yeah, we're gonna," and he threw them like 8 times in the first game, and then 8 times the rest of the year.
That was before my time.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember I was looking through those game logs. It was because it was Mike Glennon, and Mike Glennon apparently does nothing but target running backs all the fuck he wants.
Well, it's not because he can't see over the line of scrimmage. I wonder why.
Right, because he can't throw that far. He's not good enough. Yeah. It was just Tariq Cohen, Jordan Howard had like 50 combined targets per week in the first 3 weeks or something.
Paul's here to admit that Eric did get Lamar, even though I swore I'd never trade him. And you really stuck it to him, Paul. but it's good to see you all got a trade you both like. Honestly, that's what's bad. It's fine.
That's what makes it fun.
I thought we were at John, but we're not. It's just a different purple badge. 12-team Superflex. Burrow, Hurts, or Hurts and Burks.
I'd probably take Hurts and Burks, but
that's interesting.
That's a difficult question for me.
Because the points are Hurts, but the values Burrow.
I like points.
I like points too, but I'll never become a Jalen Hurts believer, and you guys can't make me. Sorry. But
Burrow's going to score some points.
Have
pretty good points at that. Burks is a bit of a quick even for me. I like that. I like that a lot. Even on Burrow. Sorry. Even.
Yeah.
It is pretty. It's pretty even. We're thinking about it.
Yeah. Surely.
Now that's a good question. Where the hell is Russ? He was prophetic.
He's gone.
No, he was here a second.
Yeah, he heard a noise upstairs. His kid's awake. He's up tending to that. He said he may or may not be back.
It's like he's got priorities or something.
I know.
Joe says, rank these players for... Oh, she's sticking it to us. Golladay, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jacoby Myers, Brevin Jordan. Brevin Jordan's in the right place.
Myers?
Yes. Myers versus Wan'Dale. Tough for me.
Myers, Robinson, Golladay.
I think the right answer is
Myers is the right answer. Myers is the one I want.
Boat versus box, man. Boat versus box. But I really like Jacoby Myers, and I really like Wan'Dale Robinson.
I really want it to be Kendrick Bourne, but since he's not on the list, Myers, Robinson,
targets, bro. Jacoby gets those targets, man. That's all that happens.
He does.
It's all good.
And that touchdown rate can't.
Touchdown rate isn't sticky, anyways.
It stuck around last year.
No, it went up. It went from 0 to non-zero.
He scored 1.
So he scored 2. Okay, don't disrespect him.
Then she says hi to Russ, which is unfortunately belated. BJ Lee, trade went down in my league yesterday. What do you guys think? 12-team, 1 QB, DK Sanders, and a 23 first for Sanders and commit. I think everyone's going to choose the first side.
I'd rather have DK in a first than Swift.
Yeah, I'll take DK.
Yep. And commit's not a bad chase.
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair. Because Swift and DK go at most a round apart in ADP. Komet and Sanders are whatever. Sanders is actually better than Komet, and that's the side I got at 23 first, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yep.
Unless you mistype something, and it's like, no.
But you say that it doesn't seem fair at all, blah blah blah. But if DK falls on his face this year, which is entirely possible, again,
big risk.
The quarterback situation is terrible. Sanders is whatever. And Swift catches 80 balls and actually gets carries, that's not as far off as you think. That's the thing.
Right. There's always a scenario where it could work out, but just based on market value right now.
Right. But
Sanders in a first for Swift is fairly even, is what I'd say.
I think all of us would take DK over Komet.
It's not a DK low. So I wouldn't say it's quit the league bad.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, strongly DK first.
It's bad enough that you should go send the guy who made the bad trade and all.
Just make a note. Start a notepad. This guy did this once.
This guy hates players with bad quarterbacks.
Apparently. Weez, 12-team Superflex PPR, tight end premium, CD, CEH for Swift, Gesicki, and Golladay. Golladay's not really got value. I know. I'm CD side again, and you all hate CD.
I'm on that side.
I'll take Lamb. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Because Edwards-Helaire gets points. Gesicki, I mean, you liked him at one point, right, Peter? But he's just barely above the replacement threshold.
I liked him a lot. I was big on him coming into the league. I was out on him by the time he was traded to the Giants. That's all I can say to defend
the only thing that does like click that a little bit is the fact that two tight end is it 2 TE or is it 2 point premium? I guess it's the same idea because Gesicki should see some targets, but I expect his target share to go down this year because he has
when you add the guy
two receivers better than he is instead of one.
He is the slot receiver there.
He's a big receiver.
Gesicki's not
Tyler Boyded, except
do better than he's done. I think that's fair to say. He was tight end. He was in the top 12 tight ends last year, but not on a per game basis. He was very difficult to start, like most.
Yeah.
Yep. Eric, almost prophetic here. Have you heard of trades involving McCall Hardman? I haven't, but I have one I just turned down because I'd made the pick already, and I'm going to tell it to you. So, what kind of value is he getting? I need to know since I've got fleeced. No. I think, honestly, McCall Hardman's a value at this point. I've been making fun of his value for years, but someone sent me an offer, and he's a good player in my leagues, knows what's what. He offered me McCall Hardman for the 3.04, but I'd already made the pick. I didn't know. I didn't see the trade beforehand. But at that kind of value, McCall Hardman, the answer, honestly, could not be Juju. It could not be Sky. It could be a little bit more. Hardman, probably not, but at 3.04 value, I think that's solid.
Who'd you pick with the pick?
Pierre Strong.
You're talking about that.
Who's the New England running back guy?
Yeah, it's
that guy. I can't remember if it's Pierre or Pierce.
It's Pierre, but
Pierre. Right.
That's fine.
French.
Yeah, I don't think Nico Hardman's very good, and some young receivers who do nothing get propped up and stuff. But there's a small chance he's good, but just the running back is.
He's a part-time receiver where if forced to start him, even as he is, he could go off for 100 yards and a touchdown. Most of the time he does.
Would you start him though?
So even that's worth a third, I'd say.
Right.
No.
Would you start him though in that game?
It would be if forced, if I'm on a bye week and I need a fill-in. But, I mean, it's not outside the range of possibilities. He expands his target share just a little bit.
Yeah.
And remember, I've been arguing against McCall Hardman, like, hard, in the paint for years. But he hasn't been bad as a... I was arguing he's more of a part-time receiver for that offense, and that's what he's been.
Yeah, he's a role player. It's how it's for him.
So, and for a third-round pick, I think that's solid. He's a good NFL player kind of a thing. He's not Tyreek Hill. Not going to be. But his value right now is kind of fine. Is everyone just nodding along with that, or is that too stupid for words? Or anyone's?
I would feels like a roster clogger, so unloading him for something that's not a roster clogger makes sense.
That's fair. Zach?
No, I was gonna say I would have traded for Hardman for that third, but I would want a second if I'm getting rid of him.
I don't think you get a second.
Well,
maybe a couple of threes and
No, I don't want that.
No?
No.
Take your dart throws?
No.
That doesn't mess around with second and third.
We'll get there.
Those are currency, though. Threes are sweeteners. You don't have to put there. You can just throw it on and be like, all right, I'll do this deal right now.
Threes I've already traded away. I'm going to trade my next year's 3 to get back into whatever draft I'm in on credit. Like, I don't, no.
I've heard you say that.
Yeah.
He has no leeway on this point.
No, I just don't. I like it. If you want them, that's fine, but that's not my
drawing
thing.
A hard line for yourself in some places is very helpful. It's nice to have the wall to put your back up against. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Which side? 102, 302, Bateman, Boston's.
The not Boston Scott.
It stops right there. 223 first and a 23 second, all likely late. It doesn't matter.
Hard to say.
They're likely late, but you don't know for sure. Just saying. Unless your league has that format, I would take the 23 first for sure. Like the 102 isn't worth what most 102s are.
Yeah. It's tough.
But I do like Burks. I do like London. Walker ain't bad, so
Yeah. I mean,
they're not
just based on ADP, a 23 first is about equal to London, Burks, etc. So, I mean, earlier in the offseason, we were talking about, maybe the point where you trade them is at 6 or 7. Then you start to trade them away. And then now it's like, okay, like 2 or 3 or 4, you can start trade it away. Getting a second on top. Like a 23 first and a second is good for 102. And then
I would say Bateman and Burks are worth a first each, so it's fairly even in that regard. But in more leagues, you're going to value that future potential a little bit more. But I think it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think 23 first and DK for Swift is pretty equal. I think that's within the range of how your leagues value it. Again, I get it.
It's possible, and like certainly a trade could turn out that way. But in ADP, DK Metcalf's a late 3, and Swift is a mid 2nd. So 23rd first seems like an overpay.
That's a good point.
He's a great receiver, and he's a great running back. Not a great running back. He's sometimes a bad running back, but he scores fantasy points at running back. He's a good fantasy running back.
The only reason I'm lower on Swift is that people see upside. I think it's a top 12 running back in the same way Mixon has been, in the same way, and some people want those guys to be those top 5. I think Swift's great at that value, exactly at that value.
And it's not like efficiency is everything, but he was not a very good. He wasn't a very efficient runner last year. And
if you traded into 2021, Bob, you could have got
not just yards per carry, but like rushing yards over expected. Does a little bit better job. It's not the best, but just as far as running back efficiency goes, I'd rather.
Then again, you're creating a pool of mostly rushes versus there are very few Kamaras, very few. But
you hope he becomes. Bob, I hope he's Kamara, but I think he's not as good as Kamara. But just from
I don't know. I have no way of weighting that. I think he's going to keep up with what he's been doing, which is good.
Yeah, he's outside. I think he's top 12, definitely. I think he could be top 5 just because he catches so much. He has that upside. If he ever has more than like 150 carries.
Wants to know what he can get for trading first-round picks to N'Keal Harry, Josh Rosen, and Sony Michel.
I told you, if he traded them when they were the picks, he could have traded into 2021 and got Kyle Pitts. I don't know why he didn't.
I don't know why he didn't. Bob continues to hate Kyle Pitts. Bob Gilchrist has been so low on Kyle Pitts for so long. I think it's a little insane at this point.
I think even he would take Pitts over this band of misfits.
Just clip that and send it out. Thanks for that, Bob.
I would maybe give a 3rd for Sony Michel. So hope that helps.
Watson or Dotson?
I assume Christian Watson, and I'd take Dotson.
Yep.
Christian, thank you. I couldn't get Justin Watson out of my head.
Oh, I was thinking you were thinking of Deshaun. I think I would take Deshaun Watson over Jahan Dotson, but that's just me. But Christian Watson, I would take Jahan.
They are 12 and 13 right now for me. So
Grimley, you gotta specify.
Flip a coin.
If forced, who do you choose? You're on the clock. You can't trade.
Dotson, just Dotson.
Draft capital.
But I don't like it. You can't make me like it. Maybe I just time out like the Minnesota Vikings.
It's the worst process pick, but again, I have names. I don't have to draft the draft round. I guess Watson, but that's bad. It's very, very even. Yeah, there you go. Andrew Carlson, 1 QB, 12-person PPR league, 2 trades. Trade 2 24 seconds and a 24 third for Trey Lance.
I forgot it was 1 QB for a second. I was about to laugh.
In 1 QB,
that's good.
No, not one quarterback. You can get a
24 seconds though.
Whatever.
Yeah, but then if your team starts struggling, you'll be like, "Oh, my depth picks to do stuff with."
I
don't play much 1 QB.
You must have a quarterback. You must have a quarterback. So what do you like? Why?
Yeah,
Don't chase another quarterback. Like
the 1 QB leagues, it's like either get guys who cost literally thirds or guys who are good.
The real answer was to draft Trey Lance last year in the second.
Yeah.
Like again, no, like that's the thing. Like when you see
that's a
like
lesson
Lamar
you can
Jackson,
carry on. Take a shot at the quarterback in a 1 QB line.
But especially with the rushing upside. So again, now if you're looking, take your third this year or a fourth and draft Malik Willis and whatever. If he hits, great. If he doesn't, then it doesn't matter. But
go trade a single third for not even a third. I think you get him for less than a third for Daniel Jones to get the same rushing upside. He's not a good quarterback, but he gives rushing upside.
Oh, but yeah, fair point. I'm bringing up Nick's comment here just because I deserve to see Bob's comment again. N'Keal Harris first round pick is worth nothing. That is true.
I'm so glad AJ Brown was there.
I know I went so hard on N'Keal Harry. Fortunately, because I trade a lot of my picks, I've got him on rosters. I was begging J Mike to trade him to me year 2. I was like, he's gonna bust at this point. I get it.
Did he not?
Yeah, no, he wouldn't do it. He thought I was trying to make him question it. I was like, no, honestly, I think he's bust at this point, but I deserve this pain. And he didn't. He did the next year. I think that's how I got him because I needed to be punished for my N'Keal Harry takes. 12-man Superflex tight end premium. I'm rebuilding. I have Juju, Renfrew, Connor, Pollard. Any ideas on trades and timing to trade said players? There is timing. Don't make a trade based on timing, but there are better and worse time to trade players. Running backs. Typically, it's going to be better when they're scoring points, or the more, like Russ said earlier, the closer you are to setting a lineup, the more running backs are going to have value. Renfro, there's never going to be a good time to trade him. There's just not. He's worth a third because he's actually worth a second, and no one will give it.
Right.
But whenever you can get a second plus, he's actually worth a first, but no one's ever going to get close to that. So whenever you can get a second, Juju. Trying to be as unbiased as I can. Now it is the best time to trade Juju. I strongly believe you're not going to get it in most leagues. So I want Juju. I want Juju at lower value than people tell you he's worth right now. Because I think that's where his value is actually at. If I can get him for a single first value,
you, the guy who loves Juju, are trying to sell Juju, what are you trying to sell for?
Not much, man. I will trade Juju in terms of actual players is what it comes down to because no one's going to give me 2 firsts. I'm not trading him away for 1.
Yeah.
So it's Devontae Smith, Elijah Moore, maybe. That's a maybe. Brandon Ayuk, maybe. It's in that range and no one's doing it. I will trade for him at that value as well, which is where it gets hectic and only in leagues where I think I can be competitive this year because if Juju doesn't do something this year, the floor's gone. This is our floor year. This is what trading for him last year. This is a safety net, which is why I'm willing to trade him at that value.
Yeah.
But it's gone if he doesn't do it this year. I really think he can. But at this point, it would be reckless to say, on your team, you should definitely follow my willingness to mitigate this particular risk or trade for this risk. But that's where I'm at. Hopefully that gives some actual idea of what I would trade and not trade him for, because saying I would and wouldn't, like those are actual names. Hopefully that gives you a better idea of where I'm at. Zach, feel like you have better ideas on Juju. It's hard not to be biased.
No, I think you're right. The problem is I don't think you're getting very much for him. Like I really don't.
I've been trying to trade for him for less than that, and everyone said no. So I feel like everyone feels like I'm saying, but no one will say it because there's risk. There's a lot of risk.
Everyone's sitting on the fence with Juju because they've seen it once. Now he's tied to Mahomes, and they're hoping to see it again. They don't want to sell low, but they can't. They're not getting blown out of the water with offers that are high. So it's such a weird.
Probably means you should trade.
There's a lot of Juju that I don't understand.
It's like the N'Keal Harry thing. Let me take the risk. It will backfire. Just sell him for slightly less.
Yeah. But Juju's actually a good NFL player, so it's okay. Because like Juju had he was a good rookie, and then he had a good 2018. He was hurt in 2019, had a good 2020, and then was hurt in 2021. And people act like he's done nothing but fail since 2018. Like he wasn't good in 2020.
Honestly, he's actually been good when on the field, because that 1 year where everyone thinks is when he busted, he actually came on through the second half of the year and again finished in the top 24, like with Deontay. And people forget that part too. Like, I don't think he's ever been bad when healthy and on
top
the field.
24 in 2020. So.
But I think they expected him to assume the role that Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
It's the same reason everyone hates Edwards-Helaire and stuff like that.
And there were very few people that were on Deontay Johnson. So
people don't.
I was out.
We're dug in. It's the DJ Moore bet. We're dug in. We're dug in, Peter. We get entrenched.
I saw this. I was like looking at stats earlier and just looking at yards. Brian Edwards had more receiving yards last year than Gabriel Davis, but because we expected Edwards to be so much, we're disappointed. And Gabe Davis is hyped a lot. Obviously, I don't think Edwards is very good, but I also don't love Gabe Davis.
But he had 4 touchdowns in the game. Come on.
John Bosch, FF, says the best way to get trades is in trade offers. And he's not wrong.
He capitalized at ball caps for a reason.
Once again, proving she knows what's what. The trade block is useless. It is. It shouldn't be. We should all make an effort to make it not useless. But it's useless.
People want trades to come to them so that they don't have to be like, "What do you?" So they don't have to sell it. So they can be like, "Okay, hopefully someone overpays, but no one's gonna overpay." You just hope they do. You hope they come to you.
Eric's just learned about the Dynasty Dummies and thanks us for the tip. I will say, Calvin Hobby, probably one of the biggest people listen to on the streaming part of DLF. Like, I had to shame him into listening to it, and now he's obsessed. Like, it's a really good podcast. It's fun. Zach is.
I haven't checked him out.
No, it's fun. He's nice to talk to.
J Mike. I mean, like
J Mike's.
I would listen to J Mike read a phone book, and so.
Well, there's no downside. Even if you don't like the takes, like, you just listen for fun. It's a fun atmosphere. J Mike's voice is gold.
I sang at the beginning.
Which, you get past relatively quickly. That doesn't last too long. Just agree on that. No, I like it. Fan Football 2023. I got the 107 and 108. I'm thinking I'll land Olave and Sky. Pretty good chance in that range. Also have Devontae Smith. Any of those three be top 12 wide receivers the next few years?
Snow Globe.
I don't have range of outcomes because of projections and my estimation of career. I don't think any of them are top 12. That's why it's a slightly down class. A lot of the players I like in this class don't have that top 12 range of outcomes for me. But, I would have said the same for Renfro and Landry, and they did it once, at least, because they can through volume. It's a rarer path. Smith is not actually that much of a volume player.
Nah, he's high 8 up.
Yeah, anything's possible. I don't think they're top 12 wide receivers. I think they're really good wide receivers.
I would have been a lot more confident in Smith before A.J. Brown got there, which I know that sounds, but like A.J. Brown's a better receiver than Smith, which makes Smith getting into the top 12 tougher.
There is a balance to be struck, between depth charts. So, yeah, I think we answered it. Zach, are you from me? Just asking.
I am from me. I am currently about 8 minutes from Brunswick, just slightly north up Route 1. So yeah, BJ, I'm here. I can see the shipyard out my window.
He works there. John subbed. We don't actually see that. I'm sorry, and streaming up, but thank you very much, buddy. Jonas, is points per game better than total points scored in terms of predictability? Jordan McNamara uses total points for base rates. That's interesting. I don't know he did that. Points per game has better R-squared testing once you adjust for sample sizes. So if you say a player has to play at least 8 games or get a certain number of touches before you test it, then points per game does actually win. Where it fails is small sample traps. That's what I always
I just ignore points per game if they played less than 8 games. I made this thing with your database where I was like, where I use the rank function. I made points per game, minimum 8 games. Works pretty well. I see total points as more descriptive than predictive.
The rate at which players do things actually is relevant. Where it falls down is where those small sample traps. Honestly, I don't think people are falling into it right now, but there is a potential because the rate matters. Tony, per game, per route or whatever, he's astonishing.
Yeah.
I think it's that kind of thing that throws the noise into the signal, though. It's not that you clearly can't do it, but if you're not sustaining volume over a significant period of time, that's taking away from some of your signal. But Jordan McNamara knows how to run through his stats, and that's probably why it probably offers him some protection from that kind of small sample without, unnecessary filters.
Tony's big risk reward, because obviously, he showed the flashes, small sample trap, and I was like, because Adam Harstead was talking about 250 plus routes run, 2 plus yards per route run. As rookies, it's a really good sample, but then if you go under, it's not as good of a sample. And then I was like, this isn't a good sample, and Adeko was like, well, if you only look at guys who are drafted in round 1, it gets a lot better. And I'm like, yeah, Demaryius Thomas, nice.
Sorry, guys. I've been trying not to abandon you this stream because it seems to be something I do regularly now, especially with Russ gone. But I really need to pee. I'm sorry. Could you please talk about Buck's question?
Yeah, 12-team Superflex, half PPR, no tight end premium, traded the 103, a 23 first, the 203, 206, a 23 second, and 2 thirds for Carr, Barkley, Schultz, Gabe Davis, Henderson.
That's a lot to break down.
Seemed like a solid move for me, and I still have 2 23 first. Okay. So we're going to eat this. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. So
right, yeah. I just crossed break this out. Down. So 2 thirds Henderson.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. 2 seconds for Gabe, I guess.
I'd probably rather have the seconds, but
yeah,
whatever.
Me too, but the value. Yeah. And then 103, 23 first, and another second for Barkley and Schultz. I would take the picks.
And Carr, don't forget Carr.
Oh yeah, Carr.
So that that's your with the super flex.
Okay, so the 23 first is about Carr.
Oh, I'd rather have a 23 first, but I think the 103 is about Carr. So whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
I don't mind this, especially if you're competing. If you're competing, I don't mind this. I think Carr, Barkley score more than the 103 and the 23 first this year. I'm fairly confident in that. Yeah. That Carr and Barkley will score more than whoever you have at 103. Mm-hmm. So if you're competing, I like this.
Right.
It doesn't the fact that you still have 2 23 first doesn't factor into this to me.
Yeah.
Because you're not what you have doesn't factor into the value of the trade. That doesn't change the value of the pieces in the trade. It's nice that you have those. I'm glad you do, Buck. But
because it's good to have.
Yeah.
But yes, solid. He's back.
It's gonna take him 25 minutes to read this.
Mm-hmm. All right. No one's name is misspelled, so we're gonna be here for a while.
You're muted though. You look good. Fantastic.
He's practicing his lip syncing for when he becomes a TikToker.
Whoops. I don't think Gabe Davis is worth those seconds, but I think Eileen, Carr not being worth the first is where I'd probably draw the line and go the other side.
Just trying to approximate value, man. It's a lot to.
No, I get it. That's the thing. I mean, that's why you break it down that way.
You don't think Carr's worth a first?
Aren't you the one who's convinced me the 2023 class is
No. The one. Do you think he's worth whoever you're getting at the 103?
I take the 103.
Oh, I thought it was a 23.
Well, there is a 23 first, but I feel like Barkley and a 23 first. Maybe the first is a little more valuable than Barkley, but that's close.
Yeah, I take Barkley, honestly.
But Carr in the 103 to me is this year is pretty close.
Isn't this trade competing, not competing? If you're competing, Carr and Barkley is heavy favorite.
And that trade probably helps you become more of a contender.
And that sounds like a get out of jail free card, but it's not. It's unless you are really looking at your team I got this. I'm top 3 in this league. It's easy. Then you take Barkley and Carr. And if it's at all questionable, just take the value. Honestly, I'd draw the line that strict.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts.
We gave them to you.
Those are our thoughts.
We have thoughts. Thanks, Buck.
Occasionally we piece together a couple good takes. You're welcome.
I mean, when you're here, maybe most of the time.
Basically the glue. It's all good though.
Kid Coop. I'm gonna go with Coop. 8th pick in a 12-team Superflex startup. Ended with Murray Watson in rounds 1 and 2. So far, how am I doing so far? Do I draft based on value or just draft based on the players available? Don't draft on need or what you've drafted so far. It's about who's available on the board. How are you doing so far? Pretty strong, actually. You've gone quarterback round 1 and 2, which is a super flex. It's solid. I'm a little more unsure, apparently, than a cash on Watson, just because I don't like having someone external force can drop a hammer on my player anytime. But I guess you've got that risk with injury, too.
I do like having him as my QB2.
And getting in the second is very good.
Yeah. That means you could have 2 top 5 quarterbacks to start off your
That's what I'm thinking.
Draft.
Yeah. I think they both...
That's solid.
Well end up
very solid. I would say don't forget your QB3, especially when you've got 2 strong QBs. You might be like, I don't need to, and you don't. But I always want to re-emphasize that QB3 no matter where I get them. Just because in the Superflex, it's really hard to trade a quarterback without trading a quarterback, as we talked about consistently. And if pressured, if you could win and you can drop that kind of a thing, like I'll give you a quarterback without trading a quarterback. You can get something done that you just need to get done in that pinch. Even if it's just for that, like, ace card. I like to try and do it. Goff. That's probably Andy Dalton.
QBX. I see you.
No. I don't draft them 5 straight. But Goff is going to be drafted, 5 rounds after this? That kind of Andy Dalton level starter is a little underrated, especially in a startup. And QBs are not going to get cheaper from here on out. Having said that, I literally just did a whole thing. Let me see. You should be probably leaning wide receivers between there and your next quarterback. I know you're going to want to draft running back, so I'm throwing it out there. Lean wide receiver.
Honestly, if I started out like this, I might be trading up into these next few rounds and try to get multiple picks up there if you're in a league where people will trade.
Yeah.
Because you've already got this start where you've got 2 quarterbacks, you're competing. So let's make this the bull of the woods right now.
Mm-hmm. Read your draft board. If they're not going heavy quarterback, you can maybe even leave it an extra round and also trade up. Trading up is definitely the way to go, the way you've started this draft. Because especially with Murray, like, you can compete here and your team's not old and it doesn't have no value. You've got a young top 5 quarterback. You're good.
And the other thing is, if picks are included in this draft, that changes things. If you have your 23 picks, like, then you can use them as trade capital. Well, yes, but if you're competing, like, if you look like the bull of the woods, you can use your 23 picks to make your team even better. Mm-hmm. And then that pick is a lower, it's still valuable, but you can use that to, I'd rather win now. I'd rather win in year 1. That's the easiest year to win a dynasty is year 1.
Definitely.
Go get it.
I'm agreeing with you. I recently saw a trade where a player made a lot of moves, tried to make, and he traded his 2023, but he didn't seem to have gotten what he needed for it because he's now short his 2023 thirds. He's competitive, but he doesn't look dominant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Only trade those future picks when you can trade anything to try and compete. And Zach's right. It's what you should be trying to do. Make sure you're getting good trades. Like, you don't want to trade and then when someone else looks at your roster, they have to ask what you got for it. Like, it should be pretty clear you traded into those mid rounds to stock up on points this year. And you should be trying to do that, but don't just trade it to try to do it. Make sure you're getting something good. I don't know if I'm emphasizing my point here well.
You are.
But, like, don't just do it.
Yeah. You're not just trading a 23 first to trade it. You want to get that.
Definitely. And
value.
If you can't, then keep it, because even though you're trying to compete, strongly trying to compete,
you're going to add
risk.
You're going to add another piece to that team next year. Yeah.
You don't want to be entirely dead.
Be pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah. Probably said it too much. Bob Gilchrist, but Harry Rosen and Michael.
None of them were the first
with
picks in
generational
their own draft. Bob, get out of here! Get out of here!
They weren't even first at their own position.
No, they weren't.
Oh, scrubs. God.
None
Harry
of them
Gray.
were. AJ Brown was better than Harry. Lamar Jackson should have gone over Rosen no matter what, and Sony Michel was in Barkley's class, so none of them were even.
Hollywood Brown went before Harry because he's better.
No, no, but
I probably would have argued for it. I'm just saying. It's good to know your flaws, and that's why I trade a lot of my picks, especially my first round picks. I'm better at knowing who's already good than I am at guessing. Nah, I'm not. I wouldn't say better. I'm better at.
You feel more confident about it.
I'm real confident being able to identify players who are more likely to bust.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think I'm any better than anyone else at identifying who's more likely to hit.
Especially hit big.
And that's why I hate classes like 2022. There's no big red flags. Like Drake London has no red flags from my perspective. Zach, you mentioned good stuff. They're not in my process. So I don't know how much to value it. Right. So yeah, that's what I hate about 2022. It's not that they all look terrible. It's that there's no clear this is gonna miss. There's no clear bust. They all look pretty good.
For me, they all look.
Velus Jones apparently.
Yeah.
Huh?
They all look like a lava.
Oh, he's old.
Like Wilson.
Yeah, he's old.
But like this class for me, the way I film grade, like everybody is like a step down from the players that I have usually identified in previous classes that are really good. Like I'm not excited about a player outside of Breece Hall in this class.
I wish I could convince myself that I believed I could read statistics well enough to know that, but I know it's not exponential. Treylon Burks having higher stats doesn't make him better than Drake London because they're well above the 8 both. Right. What I would say is this class has terrible breakout ages, except for David Bell. But I also know enough to know that as an indicator. It's not an indicator of potential. So, like, I got nothing. I'm out. Yeah. They're all good. There you go.
Dominator over average does the same thing breakout age does with more nuance.
A little bit. I like the age curve. 12 team through flex. Is this? No, I didn't. What kind of value should I be looking for when trading Mixon? A first. And you're probably going to have to wait till the season to get it. Rebuilding in 22 to compete in 23. Ooh, that's a short turnaround. I like it. I would approach it that way.
Yes.
And having the first doesn't mean you have to draft those, but you're doing great. Mixon, you're looking for a first. I don't think you're going to get a 23 first, and so I would try to look for a deal. What can I add to Mixon to get a first, or what can I break Mixon into to be a second and a good young player?
Or
does that make sense?
Look away from picks when you're trading Mixon and try to get a young wide receiver that we think is good.
If you could do that. Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
Would that be in that range right now?
Yeah, I think you get like I can look at ADP right now.
Yeah, give me what's in the range there.
You're in Russ's spot. Do Russ's job. Go look at
You could get Waddle, Higgins.
Absolutely.
You can get Waddle for Mixon?
Yeah, I mean that's ADP.
And even if you have to add a second to Mixon to get those guys, you
could get Waddle 20 points a game and no one wants him for it.
Go get Waddle. Apparently. Oh, that's crazy.
I mean, people love running backs, but it's just how it is.
Apparently. Gavin Grant, I offered that AJ Brown package.
Deontay Johnson might even be a guy that, that people are not.
I think he gets
high on
top of
scores great, and is 26. Like that's
Deontay is the 502 in startups, and Mixon is the 303. So I think he gets some on.
Yeah. So you're like that. That's the other thing is if you don't think you can get a 23 first for Mixon, pivot off and get that young wide receiver that you're excited about anyway.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to look for it, Gavin. He said he was called disrespectful when he offered the AJ Brown package for CDN and ETN. And as someone who took, I think the only one who took the CD side, I didn't find it was
Edwards-Helaire, right? No, was Edwards? I don't remember.
Okay.
I like the AJ Brown side.
Disrespectful? I don't know.
Yeah. I think that was earlier. Gavin was the one who put up a trade that everyone took the non-CD. So
yeah.
Adrian Peterson first.
Yeah, I
CD
said.
it's good.
Yeah, I don't think that's disrespectful at all, Gavin. But
it is true. And what these guys are warning you about CD Lamb is that the hype is a little crazy in the CD Lamb crowd. As someone who likes CD Lamb, so yeah, I mean, he's only had 70% target share. I think he can balloon up, but there's a risk in that he might not.
People are sticking really hard to 30-year breakout that if he isn't Calvin Ridley in year 3, his value's gonna fall a bit.
Well, and I think he's another one that the consensus on Lamb as the wide receiver 1 in that class coming out was that class was consensus CD Lamb.
Yep.
So
I saw some people with Lamb 1A and then Judy 1B. I don't know. That was the first year I started, so maybe my memory's a bit foggy.
Did you ever hear anybody screaming about Justin Jefferson, how he should be up?
I remember him being a safe floor wide receiver with a low ceiling, and then it turns out he has a very high ceiling.
Whoop.
That's something I've actually been thinking about, because I hear a lot of people talk about Garrett Wilson that way. Like
I had him in my tier 1. The only mistake I made that year was having Jalen Reagor in that tier with CD and
that's breakout age, baby.
The other guy.
Yeah. Garrett Wilson actually looks a lot like Jalen Reagor from a yards per team pass attempt perspective. In that
they're totally.
In that he was better in year 2 than he was in year 3.
Watching
that's not to say that he becomes Jalen Reagor. It's just
watching them. They're totally different players. Like Reagor needed to be schemed for. Yeah. I mean, that's everyone last year was like, "Oh, Laviska Shenault's going to break out because," and I'm like, "No, he still needs to be
get
schemed
team
for.
touches if they're good enough. It doesn't like Deebo Samuel.
No.
Not saying that he is
anywhere
Deebo.
Near. No.
Not saying he is Deebo, but just
Deebo Samuel has the second
touches.
best slant route in the NFL behind Devontae Adams. Legit. Nobody runs a better slant than Deebo except for Devontae Adams.
I'm picturing in my head right now how good he is after the catch because he just catches it, doesn't break his stride at all.
Yeah, he's so good.
Mm-hmm. But but you can have you can earn scheme touches.
But they don't scheme you enough touches to be fantasy route. Like there are very few.
If they're not going to build it,
if you're not good, then you're not.
But even if you're if you're good, you are good within the framework of an offense. Like teams don't sit there and go, "All right, how are we gonna you just get open if you're good and work within the framework of an offense." But
Gavin's question is, how do you deal with owners with that mindset that something can or can't be disrespectful in a trade? Well, it can
trade with somebody else. You got 11 other people
like it. I mean, your offer was fine.
I'd say that's probably the best way. It's just, okay, sorry, and just know that guy's probably going to not be a viable trade.
And have a conversation
depending on what he finds disrespectful about it.
See where he's at. Maybe he's really low, because you said you were giving him AJ Brown on the 23rd. Maybe he's really low on the 23rd. Go get his.
I mean, you
that's
can
glean
you have
something
to learn
from
why.
Yep. Right.
He might be just,
and then you can
learn.
That. I think shutting conversations, unless you've been talking for a while and it's just wasting your time, then I think closing doors on all negotiations is a wasting of opportunity.
And I keep notes on my league mates, and that's I got that from Leo Pasiga.
I knew, I was about to say that because that was smart though. He introduced me to that. I saw one of his threads. I was like, I'm gonna do that, and I haven't done it because I'm
absolutely it's absolutely because I think the biggest edge that nobody plays is the psychology. I think that there are so many. It's like playing poker. Like playing poker is only about 30% playing the cards. And it's like 70% playing everybody else at the table.
Oh yeah, I have some leagues where the people are so ingrained with keep trade cut that they just look at it all the time that you just throw anything in there and if it works, they'll take it.
Absolutely. So,
I would say the other thing you could learn, and there are a few reasons you could find it disrespectful, is maybe if he's high on a guy, he just assumes an inordinately high value on them. Like he loves CD Lamb. That doesn't tell you anything about what you can do with CD Lamb, but you then know if he loves Gabe Davis one year that he can gonna be someone that's interested in overpaying for him or someone else for that matter. So I would say conversation. Although someone who uses the word disrespectful, depends how it was used. could be hard to talk to, but I wouldn't close the door. Outlook on Christian Watson.
He's big and fat.
Jordy Nelson. No. No. Aaron Rodgers is one of those quarterbacks who can make you viable. If only in touchdown rate. That seems to be heavily related to quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers has the best one, like an inordinately efficient touchdown rate, and his receivers do too, which is where it shows up. Christian Watson isn't bad. He's a downfield receiver. I mean, he's going to be a volatile wide receiver too if he hits. That's what I think. Alan Lazard is interesting because of Christian Watson's projected limitations, put it that way.
Are you getting into vacated target realms?
No, I'm where targets work, and there is a targets work within the mix of the depth chart. The reason I defame vacated targets is one player leaving now means nothing to what that depth chart's going to do. Their numbers, what they did, doesn't help you explain what the rest of the players are going to do. But it is a balance between the players that are on the roster, so I think it's fair to talk about it in that way. Thank you for the opportunity of saying that argument once again. I do enjoy it. Joe, Gavin, whenever a manager is offended about a trade, they believe you think you're dumb. I think she's saying you believe they're dumb. Yeah. Also, they're getting in their feels. Honestly, though, there's nothing you can put in a trade comment and return it that doesn't in some way sound incensed. I've learned, I've wanted to reply several times, and it all sounds bad. Something about that trade comment box.
But she's like, Joe
just plan on Sleeper. It'll fix all your problems.
Joe's got this, though. If you go down a couple of comments where she says start a conversation before a trade, that's exactly what to do with that type of manager. Because if you can
with
kind
that
of
type
feel
of
them
manager,
out, yeah, and not everybody. Like, I don't want to have a conversation with you. Send me your best offer. If it's good, great. And if it's not, that's fine. But that's not how I play everybody in my league. It's how I want you to approach me with a trade. But I am understanding how everybody operates in my league, and so if I've got that type of manager in my league, let's have a conversation before we get there. It is difficult
to feel people out. I would say, I don't have the knack for it, because if you just say, "Hey, are you overly high on CeeDee Lamb?" they're going to be like, "Yeah, give me 3 firsts if you want him." But if you're better at that kind of opening conversation,
roll up.
You're right. Like that type of owner, it's probably worth gauging what they think before you. Yeah,
roll up and have a conversation about Dak Prescott. And be like, what do you think Dak Prescott's going to do this year? These are the targets. There are 198 vacated targets on Dallas's depth chart, Peter. Can we have a conversation about where those are going? Do you think they're going to CeeDee Lamb? And then feel it out that way. I mean, you don't necessarily have to come out and say, "Hey, what do you want for CeeDee Lamb?" You can.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm. It's like that would literally be my question. Hey, what do you want for CeeDee Lamb? I'm an idiot. I'm dying. Don't worry about it.
It's been nice, Peter.
Yeah.
I'm smoking and drinking at the same time. Most of the angle trader isn't worth it. Would you rather have George Kittle or Breece Hall?
It depends on what league.
If it's tight end, I'd
still rather have Hall, but a tight end premium would make you think. Like if it's 175 or higher, that makes you pause.
I draft Breece Hall higher, but I want George Kittle. If it's even, that means I'm on Breece Hall, but I kind of want George Kittle, if that helps. Guy Ross. Hey, boys. Still half an hour behind the stream. That's no problem. We're about an hour behind. Yeah. Got a super draft strategy question. End on the second. Do you take some of the third-tier wide receivers or go for these QB2s? Good question, actually. Less upside, but positional value.
So it's like
I've been hitting up a lot of those wide receivers, but honestly, taking those QB2s seems smart. Yeah, I keep thinking that when I'm on the clock, their value probably isn't going down. I'm in a draft where it's really awkward to explain. It's a John Bosch league, but it's a salary cap league. The draft round is limited, and you have to pay. So I drafted Malik Willis in the first round, technically, but it's because the salary is going to be particularly low for a quarterback, and I think this time next year he could be seen as a starter. But that was over a lot of players I like more. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because if I'm in a position, and my team sucks there, I'm not winning. No, not winning. I think those quarterbacks have some interest for those reasons. They're not going to drop in value. And if you're building, probably better than the volatile wide receivers. If I like my teams or I'm taking shots because I think I can compete, I'm taking the wide receivers, which is what I've done in most. Sorry, I talked for a while to give you time to think. That's why I was doing it.
To think? What's...
No thoughts. Got it. Emma, which side do you prefer? Devontae, 209, 23 second, or MT Sutton, 201 and a 23 third? MT Sutton. Yeah.
What? So, okay.
Elephant.
Yeah, it is. It is Thomas Sutton. Yep.
Yeah.
But it's close.
It is close. Yeah.
I think you can have Thomas Sutton and David Bell.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You get 3 quality receivers. I could see upside for all of them at they're all at different points of their careers, but yeah, MT could easily have as much points per game as Devontae. That's one way to bridge the gap. Sutton could be productive over the next few years while Devontae is older, and then Sutton could have value versus Devontae. That's another way to bridge the gap. And then David Bell could hit, another way to bridge the gap. And then 23 second, 209, it's lesser.
The one time I don't take Justin Ross because I figure I've been taking him too high, Cal trades in just behind me and takes Justin Ross.
Of course he did.
That's what that damn strong share cost me.
UDFAs matter, Peter.
I'm a little pissed. Matt, 12-team half-point PPR is trading Austin Eckler from Ramondre Stevenson plus a 23 first fair. Austin Eckler side? So I would, yeah. I think it's fair. It's the first and a second.
I would rather
have take the 23 first.
The first, but this year it's definitely like Eckler is the win this year, but
yeah.
Oh, it is half-point PPR.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think
I take the 23 first.
Like this year, it's still a win for Eckler, but long term, I'm taking the first.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Team direction, easiest.
I don't want Ramondre. Whatever.
Yeah, me neither.
That first is worth more in Superflex, so that's fair.
Yes.
Same format, 1.8. The 8th pick, the 208, the 24 second, or Jared Goff, Nico, and the 23 first. I just take the 23 first side. I don't want Nico, but yeah.
Maybe you ship him up for, I don't know.
The quarterback in the first, yep.
Yeah.
10-team Superflex. I have.
Take Nico Collins out of it. Get a third this year, like a mid-third, and then take Justin Ross in front of Peter. So you end up with Goff, Justin Ross, and a 23 first instead of Nico Collins.
That's the way to do that. 10-team Superflex. I have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. Congrats. I have trade-off of Dobbins and a second rounder for AJ. Should I pull the trigger? No. What is Edmonds' outlook this season? Chase Edmonds? He's ranked at the top of the depth chart by ADP right now, I think.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he is the top of the depth chart.
I think he's fine. He's like James Conner. We think he could get a lot of touches. I'm not convinced on the upside in it, but he could be a top 24 running back, I guess.
I think Connor is more proven more workload. Edmonds is less proven in that regard, but I think he makes it up with receiving. And
Connor stayed.
Yeah.
So
I'm more confident in Connor, but Edmonds could definitely be productive. Sneak in the top 24 for a couple of years is valuable.
He's Breece Hall and Swift, but nothing else. Honestly, if you've got those two running backs, if you say nothing else at that 10. Position, you good.
Yeah, Edmonds is good.
You have no wide receivers, we got a problem. But yeah. Juju equals 2022 Cup. Ooh,
I hope so. I've seen.
I keep thinking Cup, but with Mahomes.
Right.
No.
Yeah. No, I think the ceiling for Juju, like the absolute ceiling, is Godwin with Brady.
This is
So
what
just that
literally
kind of
what they
production
say
and
about
a good
Cup.
offense. It's not like he has to have a 25% target share to do so, because it's a good offense and it's high volume and it's efficient. So, you know,
If he doesn't, I consider myself missing. That's what I think he does. He walks into a 25% target share. Isn't something
so.
they said about Cup? Players that play like them often get tagged not getting open. I don't believe it.
No, Cup had like I remember, Cup had the like a really good rate of getting open, or was really good against coverage, and then Cooper, you guys know Cooper underscore DFF, Cooper Adams. He was like at the beginning of the season, he's like Cooper Cup being the best wide receiver in the NFL in this based on this metric doesn't pass the smell test, and it turns out he was wrong, that no one saw it coming.
Again,
it turns out he was the best receiver in the NFL. Hey, Dave.
Hey,
Come
Toronto,
on, friend.
Dave. Appreciate it. Lots of hellos. John O2, what are your thoughts on this take? 2022 Diggs equals 2021 AJ Brown. Oh, I see what you mean. Him going to Buffalo.
And the narrative certainly works. I don't know if the outcome does, though.
AJ Brown's already hit the ceiling that Diggs did and deserved to. Great receiver.
I think AJ Brown has a good
Brown
ceiling.
seems much more about his injury. But in terms of ceiling, yeah, I can see what you're saying.
AJ Brown, I'm less worried about the injury because he had the knee scopes, but that was at the end of the 2020 season. And I talked to people who know more than me about this stuff, and they're like, yeah, it was a concern for 2021 and no one paid attention to it, but now people are overly concerned about it because it affected him in 2021, so now there's a discount there. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I'm less worried about the knee injury.
Well, I wonder if John is thinking about the quarterback too.
Yeah, he's saying
like Hurts.
Right.
Yeah.
You're gonna need.
Yeah,
I would not
good.
bet on any player taking a Josh Allen-esque leap.
No.
That's the thing. Hurts doesn't really have to. Hurts was just underrated. Josh Allen, we had to expect a leap. With Hurts, it's fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. I can get higher pitched if I need to. It's fine. Just fine. Flames. But who's the most likely to bust out of the first round rookie ADP? That's the thing. That's the question I'd normally be waiting for. Actually, Kenneth Walker's probably a pretty good answer, so now I have to come up with a different one. Dang it.
James Cook.
Is James Cook going in the first round? Because that is wild.
Really?
He is.
That's wild.
11th for
that's a pretty good one.
See, that's why I want to trade into the back of the first round. Because
yeah, I'd say James Cook, or maybe Christian Watson, just because.
I mean, if Watson's going in the first round, Watson's a good one. But it is Kenneth Walker, because who knows about his pass catching? And Rashad Penny's still there. So
he could be a really good rusher and not hit for fantasy.
Why is it Kenneth Walker? It's not just the receiving, just to be clear. Like, I went and looked at the rushing and compared them to past good rushers. Kenneth Walker is an amazing rushing running back. If you think he ran like Derrick Henry level, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think it's obvious. It's not just the receiving. It's to do what we need him to do to hit that ceiling. He has to be not just great. He already is great.
Like, even Chubb or Jonathan Taylor, like he's not running like
Taylor's a better receiver.
So
last year of college, Taylor had like a 6% receiving yard market share, whereas Walker was half that.
Yeah. Even when you take out the nerd loves of reception, it's not there in the rushing. He can be a phenomenal rusher and not be that phenomenal. It's not even about how good you are at it. It's the rate and the volume at which you do it at. And he's not done anything to suggest he does that.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he didn't get all the touches and mostly rushing college. It's just, I mean, go look at Derrick Henry. Honestly, it's almost a size argument. You can almost just use that.
All right.
It should be great. It should be great.
He's like Damian Harris.
Great at something that has a lower ceiling, and to have that higher ceiling, that's why. It's not just that he just rushes, it's that very few rush like that. Rebuilding team. Jahan Dotson owner is selling him already. That seems quick.
We just got here.
I was going to offer a 23-second. You bitch. That's give him a discount. I have 4 of them already. Is this a fair trade or should I keep?
That's what happens when you put your players on the trade blocks. You get low ball offers like that.
Offers, yeah. It would be a good trade for you. I would probably keep my seconds still. They're going to keep increasing in value. It's not, and I don't think Dotson hits. I think he's good. I think he'll be good in the NFL. I don't think he's a fantasy thing, but I can be wrong. So I think the second's fair. Anyone?
Yeah, I would offer a 23-second just for the on the off chance.
He's an early second this year. Give a 23-second for it seems.
Yeah,
it's already midnight. Just so to let you know. So I'm speed reading. How's my draft look? 103 Wilson, 107 Walker, 109 Pickens. Love it. 202
Zamir White.
Zamir White.
It can't be the Quandre.
But he's still got David Bell at the 209. You lucky.
Yeah.
You flip
swap Bell and White, and then swap Walker and Wilson, and you're looking all right.
He took Shakir, then Ross.
I'm not swapping.
You
Walker
took a weird path, but I think you got to an all right place.
I think you got there. I would say I like Shakir, but what I've been flipping up in my personal ranks is I take Ross at the 103 and I grab Ingram at the 310 because he's getting some interest before the first round, and I want to kind of that's a depth guy I want. So, but he did great as far as I can tell.
I've seen Keontae Ingram go as high as like 301 in 2 of my drafts.
By doing that, by the way, I'm missing out a lot on I've ended up with a lot of Jalen Talbot.
I need more.
Bell and Trey McBride is gone, and he's the guy that's left. I'm like, fine, take it.
He's old, but
he's not falling to the 209 in my draft. So, I seem to weigh early production more than most.
I go by height.
Height, one-hand catch rates. Cool.
Sure. Yeah. I'm a Harold Carmichael stand. Let's get it.
Gonna send my team next message. When's my window to compete? Rebuilding 12 team 1 QB got 323 first, 423 seconds, 424 first. Whenever you want, really.
He has his team in the next message. It looks it's not.
Yeah,
Kyler Murray, Walker, White, Harris.
I'm working on it.
I don't know.
Chandler, do you want to mispronounce Beatty or do you want me to do it?
What you mean, Batty?
Yeah.
Deontay, Garrett Wilson, Pickens.
You're hoping got good a lot of guys hit.
So,
yeah. I would play it out. I wouldn't be afraid to try and compete in 2022 by any means, but there's no need to start selling picks to compete. I would say you're comfortable. See how the season plays out.
You're a year away. Maybe you'll get there. I mean, it's tough. Waller kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in this roster in terms of what I would do with it. Like, I don't expect to
draft him at a reasonable spot.
Right, getting good value. I like the value on Waller, but as we get into point scoring season, and obviously this is someone's gonna realize the positional advantage he has, especially in tight end premium. Feels like you get a good return for him. I feel like he's underrated, but I still feel like I would try.
Yeah, he's somewhere in the mix of the two. Jacob Calloway, name a running back in the last 20 years with the same height, range, weight range, draft capital, receptions total in his college as Kenneth Walker that has more than one top 12 RB finish. Spoiler, non-exist. Bust. I don't care about the first 3. I don't want to care about the draft capital. Yeah. That's another way of putting the argument. I had Judy over Lamb pre-draft.
Such a
fraud. It doesn't feel terrible, but it was wrong.
Yeah. Dave, you're a fraud.
Pre-draft, I get it.
Nah, you're not wrong. They just got drafted as the wrong offenses. We can explain the takes away.
For sure. Yeah, it's just landing spot. It's all that way. I'm all about emphasizing psychological aspects of the game.
You say that, Peter, but Judy's had a higher target share over the last couple of seasons. So who's mind games?
Yeah, how about that? I think he's arrested now, though. Clinton David. In year 2 of a rebuild, QBs Field, Jones, and Pickett. Fields, Jones, and Pickett. That sucks.
You're in year 2 of a long rebuild.
You're in QB hell. Yeah. Sorry.
Packers, Jones, and Pickett and get a real quarterback.
No, especially with Fields, there is hype out there. If you're not the guy in your league,
You could get Russ for Fields, and then get Kirk Cousins for Pickett, and then you have productive players.
If you can get
that
Russ
aren't old, they're not falling off a cliff. They're not in their 20s, but.
Ask about the Kittle or Breece Hall question. It's tight end premium 0.5. I already have Dalton Schultz at running back. I have Javonte and ETN.
I take Breece Hall.
Oh, which would you rather roster? Yeah, it's still Hall over Kittle. If I can trade, not even trade. I'm not trading Hall for Kittle because I want that running back. But I do want Kittle. I think he's a little undervalued.
Yeah, I agree. I have all the good tight ends are old now, so I have some rosters where I'm just bully tight end because they fell so far.
Package like Schultz and ETN and get Kittle, and then you have Hall and Kittle.
There you
this
go.
Is Clinton saying his full roster here, but I haven't changed my mind much. Should he go QB or just wait for the next draft? QB where?
Just wait. You got the firsts.
Yeah, you can afford to wait, but QB would be where I'm building at first in a super flex with these quarterbacks who could be strongly worth. I keep Willis around. He's not going to go anywhere in value, but Pickens and Jones, like Russ was saying, if I can package them into something that's competitive in 2023, I think that's what I'm shopping around to try and do, even while building. I just found out that a random 23 first isn't more valuable than a random 23 first.
Yeah. He's right.
Probably true.
23 first is more valuable than yeah. I mean, why not? Tails.
Yep.
What the hell can we do with Chase Claypool? Sorry, bud.
The cool thing is, Peter.
Did I trade him last year? I did. I swear I did.
Yep.
I'll speak for you. Like you don't have to worry about that because you don't have any Claypool either.
Go send him off for Michael Thomas and ride points off into the sun.
That's not bad. In a vacuum, Marcus Brown. Elijah Moore. Marcus Brown.
Let's go, Ian.
Kyle, Hollywood all day for sure.
I on Twitter, like before the trade during the NFL draft where Marquise Brown was traded to the Cardinals, I said I would take Hollywood over Elijah, and someone called me a really insulting word that means dumb. And now we all agree that Marquise is better.
You can say a lot smart. You can say anything you like and be called that.
I'm not going to say
that. But no, that was a good one. Joe also says Akash is the one person that called Cooper Cup 2021 season with Rich Harbour on the Podfather show in January of 2021. I will say mine and Zach episode talking about how he had top 5 upside and everyone forgot it predates that. But no one cares because I'm not the Podfather. He's not Rich Harbour. But Akash is here, so we're in good company at least. It was a very good take, Akash. Well done, and you got noticed for it. That's awesome, man. Congrats. Is Wando the biggest value in drafts? In my 1 QB league, I got him 302, Superflex 209. If he becomes a top 2022 wide receiver, I wouldn't be that surprised. Would you?
He has really good production.
Surprised?
I wouldn't be overly surprised because there's a lot of variance.
I would be surprised.
I'm
incredibly surprised.
I think
he is short. That's true. But no,
being
I like
one
him.
of the most significant wide receivers from this class is within his range of outcomes. Being better than any other wide receiver in this class, I'd be surprised, but I've been wrong a lot.
Be surprised because
Harry was good.
I would play the field over him, but I like the value there definitely. I mean, I really like his production. You got your draft capital. Sorry, he's short, and I can't change the fact that he's short, but good value.
Don't care that he's short. No, his value right now is insanely good. Like I've been forgetting, and he was one of the first guys that stood out to me in this class. A running back with good wide receiver metrics, and then he had good wide receiver metrics when he was a wide receiver at a higher conference. He stood out. And something about his ADP and MFL specifically is pushing him towards the bottom, so people are forgetting him. So his value is getting even better, I think.
He's like the 212 right now. It's crazy. I mean, I have him in half my leagues right now that the rookie drafts are over. So I'm with you, Johannes.
and ended up with Talbot instead, but I should make an effort. Kyle, 1 QB PPR 12 team. Should I try to win it all this year or play for 2023? Burrow, Lance, Breece Hall, Derrick Henry. You don't hear Derrick Henry's name a lot right now. That's interesting.
Yeah, first time I've heard him mentioned all show, except for
right.
Kenneth Walker comps.
I mean, we've been streaming we've rarely get asked about Derrick Henry. It's interesting. To me, for no particular reason. Don't worry about it. Wide receiver, Chase, Scary Terry, Hollywood, London, Claypool, Ridley, Sky, and Hawkinson.
Compete this year. Do it.
And he has 421 first. So
and next year also.
Same period. Yeah. Compete. It's a win always team.
Go kick their ass, Kyle.
Trade Lance for wide receiver or something.
Oh yeah, definitely trade Lance, but that's
one QB. You just need Burrow. That's all it takes.
The only problem with that is Lance probably isn't worth anything in 1 QB. Yeah, I would trade him.
Wide receiver you get for
also
Lance.
Claypool, Ridley, and Sky, but your team's already competitive. I like it pretty well. I have 423 first.
Yeah, exactly. So in 1 QB, you could trade Lance for a Juju type or like Pickens or something. That seems fine. That's just based off ADP. That's solid.
Trade him for Leonard Fournette and crush your league.
Oh yeah, that's smart. Do that. Yeah, I like that.
Feeling my age. It's past midnight. I'm like, oh god, thank God there are no questions. Oh wait, Kyle's here. Hold on to Lance in the 1 QB league to wait for value. I don't know, because
what's his value going to be if he hits his ceiling?
Honestly, I think that's move in 1 QB because right now QB is worth nothing. If Lance displays his upside, those QBs can be worth something. So that might be the move in a 1 QB.
That's true. If I was rebuilding in a 1 quarterback league, I would trade like a Juju for Lance just for the upside. But then if I was competitive and Burrow is my quarterback, I would trade Lance for the points that I need at whatever position I need. When I need points in 4 months.
Joe, don't do this to me. I'm very old.
Good job, Brendan. Keep asking those questions.
And I
need my 15 minutes of fame to extend a little bit longer.
12 teams.
Oh yeah. You just podcast regularly with Russ Fisher and Rich Harbour and the Podfather. But now's your 15
I wasn't with them.
Fame. I get it.
I wasn't with Podfather.
Was it not?
No, she
really
said
wrong.
that she was addressing.
No, it was Rich Rebar. She was saying
Rich Rebar.
Cash Rebar. Lord Reeves. Lord Reeves said that Cooper Kupp was.
I'm not. Yeah, that's the only time I mentioned the same conversation and the same sentence as them is she was addressing me talking about that.
You just talk constantly about how you're in that conversation. That's how we do that.
Brendan, I'm looking to compete with this roster.
Oh, sorry, Brendan. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
12-team Superflex.
Yeah, good team.
Rodgers wins. Baker.
Go win. I'm proud of you.
Yep.
Pretty CD.
Peter, look over there.
Nah, Joe says we have to stay.
No, I'm not staying. I need to go to bed.
I'm okay to stay. I can stay.
She controls the show.
All right, I'm out.
I'll drink.